Chapter 3641. Qiao Yinyan nodded. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Even if Master Qiao doesn't make a move, she will definitely bid for it. The reason for that was because no woman would be able to tolerate any problems with her face. Especially for a lady like Qiao Yulu who valued looks the most. Even if Qiao Yulu wasn't willing to lose the bet, she wasn't willing to let Yiqing Luo be complacent. Qiao Yulu would definitely bid for the beautifying cream. But Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly turned grave. She shouldn't compromise so easily. Even if she has no time to deal with the treasure gathering, she should put her thoughts on the Zhongqing exchange hall. She paused and suddenly raised her head. I suggest that you guard the door of her room tonight. Qiao Yinyan was stunned and immediately understood something as his expression congealed. What you mean is, there's a possibility that she will contact that group of people who set up the soul-devouring array. Those people's target might be me. If Mysterious Maiden wants to target me, those people will naturally make use of Mysterious Maiden to deal with me. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. If those people help Mysterious Maiden, not to mention whether Mysterious Maiden can win the bet with me, the most important thing is, it will definitely affect the Qiao family. Yiqing Luo didn't wish for the Qiao family to be implicated because of Qiao Yulu's mistake. Qiao Yinyan's expression turned grave. Only dare to hide in the dark and use a borrowed knife to kill a rat, dare to make use of our Qiao family. I will explain this matter to father and send more people to watch over Princess Yulu, to prevent Palace Mistress Yulu from contacting those people. Yiqing Luo curled her lips at him. You don't have to be too nervous, perhaps I'm thinking too much. Just in case, we still need to pay attention. To be able to create a sinister array with a formation core spirit in the West Cliff Mountain, the other party's ability was definitely not weak. But why didn't they dare to show themselves? Instead they used this method to hide in the dark and pay attention to them. This made one have no choice but to guard against them. Qiao Yinyan stood up with a heavy expression as he prepared to leave the treasure-gathering exchange hall. Looking at Qiao Yinyan's back view, Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she suddenly said, Yinyan, it seems you've never asked why. Qiao Yinyan stopped in his tracks. After a moment of silence, he turned around. Yiqing Luo met his gaze and spoke out softly. You should be able to guess that those people's identities and abilities aren't weak. Aren't you curious why they would target me when I'm just an ordinary person? It seemed like ever since she met Qiao Yinyan, no matter what happened to her, Qiao Yinyan was not curious even once. If it was her, she would definitely be suspicious. It was just like, after she saw that Pei Xing was not affected by the soul-devouring array, she had some speculations about Pei Xing. However, Qiao Yinyan had never been surprised by what had happened to her. A warm smile slowly appeared on Qiao Yinyan's handsome face. It made her elegant face look even more ethereal. His thin lips moved, and he said word by word with a smile, when you are willing to speak, I will listen. In short, I believe you. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Qiao Yinyan had an inexplicable good impression of her. And a few times of unconditional help. She really couldn't understand Qiao Yinyan's feelings for her. If she said that Qiao Yinyan liked her. But to tell the truth, she really didn't feel that Qiao Yinyan liked her. If she said that he didn't. Chapter 3642. Yiqing Luo sighed. You can't guess a man's thoughts. No matter how you guessed, you wouldn't be able to guess. Then we'll talk about it when I feel like it. Yiqing Luo waved her hand weakly at him. Go keep an eye on your sister, I'll go take a look at Zixie's situation. Forget it, it's better not to ask. If she continued asking, perhaps Qiao Yinyan would flirt with her again. She couldn't possibly ask directly, hey, do you like me? Don't like me, I have a fiancé. If she really said that, when they meet again, wouldn't it be awkward to death? Most importantly, she wasn't sure. Was Qiao Yinyan's feeling towards her the kind of love between a man and a woman? Qiao Yinyan returned to the Qiao residence and explained to Patriarch Qiao about the black-robed men. Patriarch Qiao was extremely shocked. But he believed that his son wouldn't lie. So he secretly sent the secret guards to guard Qiao Yulu's door tightly. Nothing happened that night. Only, the Qiao family didn't know. Qiao Yulu was in a flustered and exasperated state, using a pen to poke the paper which was filled with Di Luo's name, cursing Di Luo venomously. When a light breeze blew past, her eyes suddenly turned blurry and she laid sprawled on the table, unconscious. From the secret guard's point of view, Qiao Yulu seemed to be tired of cursing and laid on the table to rest. The current Qiao Yulu's consciousness had fallen into a temporary darkness. When it was bright again, that red-robed young lady with a white veil appeared in front of her, smiling sweetly as she looked at her with ridicule. That young lady was like a high and mighty queen, looking down on everything. His mouth continued to say humiliating words to her. Qiao Yulu stared at the young lady in front of her as her pupils contracted. Indescribable hatred and anger filled her chest. Finally, under the young lady's contemptuous smile, Qiao Yulu let out an angry howl. Her fists clenched tightly as she punched towards the young lady's face. Bam! The young lady was punched onto the ground. However, that radiant and enchanting face was still sneering at him. Qiao Yulu's eyes were bloodshot as she pounced forward, beating and tearing the young lady. Once and again. Again and again. It wasn't until the young girl's body was completely unrecognizable that she stopped, panting heavily. Did you vent your anger? Suddenly, an ethereal voice sounded in the surroundings. It was as if it was ringing in his ears. Qiao Yulu straightened her back in shock and quickly looked around. If you think that's the best way to vent your anger, I can help you make the real Imperial Fall look like this. That voice seemed to be filled with bewitchment. Who are you? Who is it? Qiao Yulu looked around cautiously. The Empyrean fairy is really forgetful. Didn't we just cooperate a few days ago? The voice laughed in a low voice. Qiao Yulu's eyes narrowed as rage filled her face. It's you guys. The ones who created the soul-devouring array. How dare you appear in front of this empress? She stood up angrily, her eyes burning with anger. Because of that so-called formation, her face had almost been swallowed by the formation, causing her to be disfigured. This group of people had deceived her. They said that she would help to lure Imperial Fall to West Cliff Mountain so that she would have the chance to kill Yiqing Luo personally. She had not expected that she almost became the array's food. This group of people totally didn't want to help her sincerely. Chapter 36-43. In the face of Qiao Yulu's anger, the voice chuckled in a low voice. The laughter was sinister and cold. Qiao Yulu was so infuriated that her chest heaved up and down as her eyes turned red. What are you laughing at? Why must mysterious maiden be angry? Haven't we agreed right from the start that we are only making a deal? That voice said calmly, I'll help you lure that woman into the West Cliff Mountain. Whether you can kill her or not will depend on your own ability. That voice paused for a moment as its tone was filled with ridicule and ridicule. Your ability is not up to par, don't tell me you blame us. You! Qiao Yulu's face flushed red as she gritted her teeth and roared, you're obviously the one who lied to me. Didn't you tell me that that's the soul-devouring array? If it wasn't for the fact that I have the protective talisman which Ling Long Palace Lord had passed to me, I would have died in that array. Her face, which was as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as a fairy, would not have turned into such a state. She wouldn't lower herself to get the beauty cream from Yiqing Luo's hands. All of this was because of this group of people. They actually dared to appear. And even wanted to make use of her. That voice laughed sinisterly, oh. Really? Even if we tell you that's the soul-devouring array, will you really give up the only chance to kill that woman personally and not step into the soul-devouring array? Not waiting for Xiao Yulu to reply, that voice continued to laugh. No, you will. Xiao Yulu's mouth moved, but ultimately she couldn't say any words of rebuttal. Yes, she would. Even if she knew it was the soul-devouring array, she would still enter the array. So what's the point of saying it or not? Anyway, it won't affect your decision, right? The voice chuckled again. Xiao Yulu's brows creased tightly as she felt that something was amiss. But she felt that what that voice said seemed to make sense. Not waiting for Xiao Yulu to think carefully, that voice rang again. I have a deal here, do you want to do it? Xiao Yulu pursed her lips as she hesitantly scanned the surroundings. It was a patch of gray and she couldn't sense any other signs of life. But that voice seemed as though it was right beside her ears. She pondered for a moment, as if she was thinking about the other party's purpose. The other party didn't rush him either. After a long silence, she slowly said, "What deal?" The voice laughed. "I have an item here that will definitely fetch the highest price in the auction. It can help you suppress the treasures gathering exchange hall and win the bet with that woman." Xiao Yulu's eyes lit up. "What is it?" "As long as you agree, that thing will appear in the auction in the name of Zhongqing Trading Firm tomorrow morning." The voice didn't intend to answer Xiao Yulu's question. Xiao Yulu furrowed her brows. "How can I believe you?" "You can only choose to believe." The voice lowered its voice and revealed a trace of bewitching intent. "Could it be that you don't want the treasure gathering to fail, and you don't want that woman to crawl beneath your feet?" "Just like that." A voice sounded in the direction of the voice. Xiao Yulu subconsciously looked in the direction of the young girl whom she had just beaten up. The girl in red fell to the ground, battered and battered. Xiao Yulu's eyes narrowed as a blazing flame spread in her eyes. "Fine. I can believe you guys one more time. Then, what do you want me to do?" Chapter 36-44. The next day. The auction. All the citizens of the main cities had rushed over to participate in the annual Without Embroiling Cities auction. The entire Without Embroiling City was bustling with activity. Especially the citizens of Without Embroiling City, they were in high spirits. There were even people who set up bets on who would win the bet, Princess Yu Lu or Miss Di Luo. Yiqing Luo and the rest handed over their invitation and entered the auction. That was even more shocking. The scene of the auction could no longer be described as explosive. The auction in the land domain was an extremely important event. It was an annual event. It was a gathering of all the auction houses in the entire Earth realm to participate in this event. The participating auction houses would be ranked according to the amount of crystal stones they bid on the spot. For 5 consecutive years, the auction house with the lowest number of bids would have its marketing rights revoked. This was the reason why the 3 main cities' mysterious fairies left the Linglong Hall and returned to the main cities. Most importantly, the annual auction was not exclusive to Without Embroiling City. It was for the 3 main cities to compete for the right to host the auction. This was similar to the Olympic Games. Which country would it be held in? It was extremely significant. This year, Without Embroiling City had won the right to host the auction. This made City Lord Lu extremely excited. The auction would be held in the main city of Without Embroiling City, at the venue. Without Embroiling City was the largest venue in Without Embroiling City. It was used to receive outsiders and VIPs from the upper realm. After Yiqing Luo walked into Without Embroiling City, she estimated that it could accommodate at least 30,000 people. This venue was divided into 2 floors. The first floor was the reception hall. There were many benches placed there, and all of them were already full. There were a lot of people standing in the surrounding aisles. It completely explained the true meaning of a sea of people. On the second floor, there were boxes one after another. After one round, there were at least 100 to 200 private rooms. These were used to receive VIPs and representatives of the top 50 auction houses. Since 5 years ago, after that incident at the treasure exchange, Pei Xing had never been to the second floor. But this time, perhaps it was because of Yiqing Luo and Xiao Yulu's bet. Or perhaps it was because old Lai was by her side. City Lord Lu arranged a private room on the second floor for the treasure exchange. Moreover, the location was not bad. Yiqing Luo expressed that this was absolutely in order to please old Lai, in order to have a relationship with the Hell Palace, so she specially arranged it. After entering the private room, Pei Xing was obviously somewhat restrained. His body was tense and his face was tense. Her eyes were slightly red. Yiqing Luo understood Pei Xing's feelings very well. For Pei Xing, the treasures exchange hall was what kept him going. It had always been his dream. They stepped onto the second floor. This was equivalent to the acknowledgement of his treasure-gathering exchange hall. Moreover, today was the day that the future of the treasures exchange house would be decided. In his heart, he was both excited and nervous. They sat in the private room and looked at the sea of people on the first floor. Pei Xing was so nervous that his palms were sweating. Ah Luo, how many people do you think are here for the beauty cream? Men pursue strength and strength, while women pursue beauty above strength. Don't underestimate a woman's obsession with beauty. Yiqing Luo smiled at him. Relax, don't be too nervous. Pei Xing nodded vigorously, clenched his fists, and took a deep breath. He wanted to calm down. Chapter 36-45. The more he tried to calm down, the more anxious he felt. There was a trace of embarrassment on Pei Xing's handsome face. I'm going out for a walk. I'll be back soon. Looking at the embarrassed look in the man's eyes, Yiqing Luo knew that too. This kid was probably so nervous that he wanted to go to the toilet. However, the door of the private room was just closed. Yiqing Luo heard an extremely sharp and unkind voice coming from outside the door. Yo, isn't this Boss Pei? Then, a few mocking laughs rang out. Judging from the laughter, there were about 4 people. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. From his tone, it was obvious that he was here to cause trouble. She waved her sleeve. A surge of profound energy slightly opened and closed the door. Yiqing Luo saw Pei Xing standing at the entrance, and in front of him were 4 wealthy-looking young men dressed in brocade robes. Pei Xing didn't want to bother with him. He turned around and was about to return to the private room. However, one of them reached out and stopped Pei Xing. He smiled and said, Boss Pei, don't be in such a hurry to leave. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Aren't you going to greet an old friend? The other 3 immediately surrounded Pei Xing. Trapped in the middle, Pei Xing lowered his head and tensed up. I have nothing to say to you. Yo. Boss Pei, you sure talk big. The man clicked his tongue and laughed. I heard that Treasure Gathering House has climbed up the ladder and is preparing to win the honor of the best auction house in this auction. Is that why you're so proud of yourself? Even though the man was praising Pei Xing, however, it was obvious that they were mocking him. Pei Xing's eyes were filled with anger. He struggled to break free from the man's hand and glared at him. What happens to the treasure gathering has nothing to do with you. How could it have nothing to do with me? After all, we used to be brothers. The man winked and smiled as he hooked his arm around Pei Xing's shoulder. Pei Xing was so angry that his eyes turned red. He grabbed the man's hand and shook it off. Don't touch me. I don't know someone like you. Don't insult the word brother. The man who was flung away did not get angry. The other three men looked at each other and burst into laughter. Pei Xing's face was filled with anger. However, he also knew that the auction was just around the corner, and he couldn't allow anything to go wrong at this moment. He suppressed his anger and looked at the person in front of him. "Get out of the way." The man who was pushed away came forward with a cheeky smile. "TSK, after 5 years, Boss Pei can finally come to the second floor of the auction again. Is it because City Lord Lu feels that after today, the signboard of the Treasures Trading House will be taken down, and he feels pity for you, so he is giving you one last chance to sit in the box on the second floor?" Young Master Wang's words. That's true. How can a trashy auction house like Treasure Gathering be qualified to sit in our private room on the second floor? Isn't that lowering the status of our second floor? Right. We're all auction houses that are ranked in the top 50. The owner of a trashy auction house wants to sit with us. Is he looking down on us? Let's ask City Lord Lu what this means. When the men heard this, they cooperated and sang together. He even looked at Pei Xing with disdain. "What right does a person like you have to stand here? Do you still want to learn from your father's trick from 5 years ago? Fooling all the guests like fools? You don't want to learn anything, but you have to learn from your father, that liar." The three men kept humiliating him with words. Chapter 36-46. Young Master Wang, who had his arm around Pei Xing's shoulder, moved closer to Pei Xing with his slightly plump body. He leaned close to Pei Xing's ear and let out a low, evil laugh. "Boss Pei, on account of our past relationship, I can help to persuade my brothers to let you stay on the second level of the trading house, which represents the honor of the trading house, on the last day that the trading house still exists." Young Master Wang's voice paused for a moment. There was an indescribable meaning in his laughter. "Of course, you also know that I won't do a losing business. I'll help you this time. How are you going to repay me?" Under the pincer attack of the four men, Pei Xing's slender body trembled slightly. He hung his head. His excessively long hair cast a shadow that covered half of his face, as well as his expression. Pei Xing remained unmoved. He didn't even struggle. Young Master Wang, who was close to Pei Xing, became even bolder. His hands went straight towards Pei Xing's body and started to touch her, in the private room. Qiao Yinyan and Lao Lai both saw the scene outside the door. Lao Lai couldn't stand it anymore. His face darkened. "How dare you touch the person under my protection? Are you looking down on the underworld palace?" He slammed the table and was about to rush out of the room. Qiao Yinyan frowned and looked at Yiqing Luo. "Ah Luo, aren't you going to help?" As he spoke, he stood up. As soon as Pei Xing was stopped by the four men, Qiao Yinyan and Old Lai had already made their moves. But seeing that Yiqing Luo had yet to make a move, only then did they endure it. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as her slender brows creased slightly, as though she was pondering over something. She stared unblinkingly at Pei Xing outside the door. When she saw that the man's hand was already reaching for Pei Xing's butt, her frown deepened. A layer of red light appeared in his eyes. She stood up and was about to follow them out of the private room. Suddenly, her eyes flashed as if she had seen something. He reached out and grabbed Qiao Yinyan and Old Lai's arms. "Wait." The two of them stopped and turned their heads towards Yiqing Luo in puzzlement. Was he not going to help Pei Xing? If he still didn't make a move, Pei Xing was about to be molested by a man. Yiqing Luo's gaze was fixed on the front as she said word by word, "Look." Just then, a bang sound of collision rang out. What followed was a blood-curdling scream. The two of them looked over at the same time. In the next instant, his pupils unconsciously dilated. His mouth also unconsciously opened wide. They saw. At the door, Pei Xing, who looked like a little lamb that had been bullied, reached out and grabbed the hand that was still moving down her waist. Ka-cha! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Pei Xing broke young Master Wang's hand without hesitation. Then, he raised his leg and kicked young Master Wang in the stomach. Young Master Wang let out a blood-curdling scream as he was sent flying and crashed heavily into the door of the private room. The other 3 men were startled. He didn't expect Pei Xing to make a move. Furthermore, it possessed such great power. He was still in a daze. Another man was punched directly in the face. The tip of his nose turned sour, and a stream of heat flowed down continuously. Following that, Pei Xing executed another set of beautiful and smooth fighting moves and pressed the other 3 men onto the ground. That battle power was really dumbfounding. Even Old Lai and Xiao Yin, who had been interacting with Pei Xing these few days, were shocked. Is this Brother Pei? Xiao Yin asked in shock. Chapter 36-47. What made the 2 of them dumbfounded was even more surprising. After Pei Xing knocked down the 3 men, he walked directly towards one of them. He pulled that man who was crying out in pain and punched that man's face. Left and right, punch after punch. As though he wanted to beat that man to death. That man was originally still able to cry out miserably as he struggled to break free from Pei Xing. But as Pei Xing's fists continued to fall, the man's voice became weaker and weaker. The 3 men beside him were so frightened that they didn't dare to help. This commotion attracted the VIPs in the surrounding cabins, or the exchange house representatives, to crowd around. No way! The auction is about to start. If Brother Pei creates trouble at this time, he will be disqualified from participating in the auction. Xiao Yin looked at the surrounding people who were pointing at Pei Xing, talking about something, and his expression instantly turned grave. Yiqing Luo frowned when she heard that. This was probably Xiao Yulu's design. She intentionally wanted to provoke Pei Xing, using the auction's rules to disqualify them from participating in the auction. Once Treasure's Exchange House couldn't participate in the auction, Treasure's Exchange House would not be able to obtain the honor of the best exchange house. The reason why she didn't make a move earlier was because she didn't understand this rule. Part of the reason was that he wanted to see what kind of power Pei Xing possessed. Because, just as they were about to walk out of the cabin to help Pei Xing, her profound jade heart suddenly surged with a scorching feeling. The profound jade heart's power extended to her eyes. She clearly saw Pei Xing's body, encircled by a layer of golden glow which she couldn't see through. That glow was very dazzling, and it was releasing a dense energy. It made her profound jade heart very restless. Yiqing Luo also noticed it. Other than the golden glow on Pei Xing's body, the others, including Old Lai and Xiao Yin, didn't seem to notice Pei Xing's abnormality. So, she pulled the both of them back. But she had not expected. As the golden glow became more and more brilliant, Pei Xing was actually able to use his own power to directly take down 4 men whose abilities weren't weak. She pursed her lips, looking at Pei Xing, who had lost control. She said, "Pull him back first." Just as Xiao Yin was about to push open the door, his hand paused, and his expression changed slightly. It's too late. City Lord Lu and the Executive Elder are here. Yiqing Luo looked over. City Lord Lu, who was dressed in a dark robe, and 2 old men who looked like immortals walked over quickly. When the 3 of them arrived, the onlookers cheered as they watched the show. City Lord Lu is here. The Executive Elder is here. The crowd dispersed, making way for City Lord Lu and the 2 Executive Elders. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Pei Xing seemed as if he didn't hear it, and he still fiercely and barbarically punched the man who was on the verge of death. That ruthless look. It was like a beast that had been trapped for a long time. His entire body exuded a horrifying evil aura. Stop! Stop! What's going on? When City Lord Lu walked over, he saw that Pei Xing was still acting tyrannically. His face darkened, and he walked over with a stern roar. However, before he could get close to Pei Xing suddenly raised his head, and a pair of bloodshot eyes, like a wild beast, stared fiercely at him. City Lord Lu was so shocked that his footsteps halted, as his expression changed. Chapter 36-48. Pei Xing's action was obviously challenging the authority of the executive elder and Governor Lu. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, their faces darkened. Pei Xing half knelt on the ground, one hand holding the man's collar, his fist full of blood. As he raised his head, his eyes were bloodshot as he glared at the person in front of him. It was as if he did not hear their words at all. The two executive elders looked at each other. Suddenly, he clenched his hands into fists and simultaneously moved towards Pei Xing's left and right. His fingers were like eagle claws as he grabbed Pei Xing's shoulders. A golden light flashed in Pei Xing's eyes. The vicious aura of a trapped beast became more and more intense. The crowd could not help but sigh. Obviously, he was going to fight with the executive elder. TSK, they did not know which trading house dared to ignore the executive elder of the auction and even fight with him. There was such a wonderful show in this year's auction. It was a worthwhile trip. Just as the two executive elders approached Pei Xing's aura surged. Suddenly, a hurricane came. Then, a white figure appeared in front of Pei Xing, blocking his way. One on the left and one on the right, it held the arms of the executive elder. At the same time, a sweet voice sounded, "Executive Elder and Governor Lu, please forgive me." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. A figure that looked like a raging flame slowly approached Pei Xing. The girl's red clothes were burning like fire. She had an outstanding temperament, and her every move revealed an aura that made people feel pressured. When everyone wanted to see the girl's face, it was covered by a white veil. However, the white veil was half covered, which made the girl more beautiful and unparalleled. "Miss, be careful of that person. He's not normal." Someone reminded the girl who was approaching Pei Xing out of good intentions. However, in the next moment, his eyes widened in shock. The girl slowly walked to Pei Xing's side, bent down slightly, and covered Pei Xing's head with her slender white hand. The aura of the man who was like a trapped beast was calmed down bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, the ruthless man had already let go of his hand. He swayed his body and got up. When Pei Xing left the man who was violently beaten to death, a few men at the side immediately rushed forward and dragged him to the side. While dragging, he stared at Pei Xing cautiously. He made sure that Pei Xing didn't do anything. Only then did he feel relieved. Everyone's gaze fell on the young girl in unison. He seemed to be thinking about the girl's identity. Look at that man who was a head taller than the young girl. Just now, he was so fierce that even City Lord Lu didn't dare to approach him. At this moment, it was like an obedient pet, standing obediently behind the young girl. "Let go of me." Suddenly, an angry voice broke everyone's suspicions about the young girl. He shifted his gaze. Only then did he realize that just now, when the two executive elders wanted to hold Pei Xing down and stop him from hurting more people, Pei Xing's expression suddenly changed. It seemed like he had been intercepted. A single person intercepting two executive elders? How could they not pay attention to such a shocking thing? It seemed like, ever since the red-clothed girl appeared, all of their attention was involuntarily focused on the young girl. That red-clothed girl was simply poisonous. Everyone's gaze fell on the person who intercepted her. That person was wearing a gray robe that hung loosely on his body. His hair was neatly combed, but still a little messy. Chapter 36:49. But on that person's robe, there was a huge prison word. Everyone's expression changed as their eyes were filled with shock. Even the executive elder, who flew into a rage out of humiliation, turned pale. So, he was from the Hell Palace. No wonder he could block the two executive elders with his own power. Senior, Hell Palace. The executive elder spoke with an ugly expression. I didn't know that Hell Palace Senior was coming. Please forgive me for not going out to welcome you. After everyone heard the executive elder's words, they confirmed that this person in front of them was indeed from the Hell Palace. All of them were so shocked that they took several steps back. Their faces were filled with terror as they stared at Old Lie, as though they had seen some kind of dreadful beast. City Lord Lu saw Old Lie coming out and immediately went up to him with a smile. Hell Palace Senior, please calm down, please calm down. It's just a small misunderstanding, please let go of the two executive elders first. In front of so many people. The executive elder of the auction was held in such a position by a person, unable to resist or move. It was really damaging to the auction's reputation. Especially. This was without embroiling City. If they infuriated the Hell Palace Senior in this auction, they would create a huge ruckus. The one who would suffer in the end would be him. He absolutely must not mess up this auction. City Lord Lu smiled along. Old Lai shot a glance towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Seeing Yiqing Luo nodding, he released his hands and clapped his palms. We are all civilized people, don't make a move so easily. Civilized people. People from the Hell Palace had the cheek to call themselves civilized people? He was cursing wildly in his heart. But he still hung a smile on his face as he nodded in agreement. What Hell Palace Senior said is right, we are all civilized people. Old Lai snorted and ignored City Lord Lu's fawning as he walked towards Pei Xing's back and directly stretched out his hand, pulling Pei Xing's ear. You brat, where did your brute force come from? I actually didn't realize that you have such an ability. Pei Xing's handsome face surfaced a layer of sullen anger. His eyes were red as he stared at the man who had fainted on the ground. I don't care how he humiliates me, but he shouldn't have said that about my father. Those three men instantly reacted. No wonder Pei Xing didn't hit anyone. Just focus on that kid and beat him up. Just because of that brat's words, Pei Xing wanted to learn from his father, that swindler. This caused Pei Xing to go crazy. Ahem. It's just a misunderstanding. It's fine, it's fine. City Lord Lu coughed lightly and tried to smooth things over. But, not waiting for him to finish. However, the girl's clear and sweet voice suddenly became a little cold. The girl tilted her head slightly and looked at Pei Xing with a cold expression. She asked, from your tone, it seems like you didn't do anything wrong, right? Pei Xing met Yiqing Luo's gaze, but it only lasted for several breaths before he shifted his gaze away. But his neck was raised high. He seemed to be saying that he didn't think he had hit the wrong person. Yiqing Luo laughed, right, you didn't do anything wrong. After venting out the resentment in your heart, no one dared to insult your father anymore. You feel that you're very powerful, right? Let's do it this way. In the future, if anyone says anything bad about your father, you can go up and beat them up until they are convinced. Beat them up until they don't dare to insult your father. How about that? Pei Xing's body stiffened, and his pale face started to flush red. A pair of wandering gaze floated towards Yiqing Luo's face from time to time. Chapter 36:50. Pei Xing pursed his lips into a thin line. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms over her chest as she gave him a glance with a smile which didn't look like a smile, her expression indifferent. The entire second floor fell into silence. No one spoke to break the stalemate. The atmosphere was getting heavier and heavier. It made everyone feel a little oppressed in their hearts. However, City Lord Lu did not say anything. The executive elder did not say anything. The senior from the underworld palace didn't say anything. The others didn't dare to make a sound. There was a moment of silence. Pei Xing couldn't take the pressure. He lowered his head and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry. I was wrong." "You're not wrong, how could you be wrong?" Yiqing Luo chuckled, her attitude was cold. Pei Xing's body trembled and he bent down. "Ah Luo, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I was really wrong." Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she fixed her gaze on Pei Xing for some time before she opened her mouth faintly. "Then tell me, where did you go wrong?" Pei Xing's body stiffened again. He did not reply. Yiqing Luo took a glance at Old Lai. Lao Lai understood. He put his arm around Pei Xing's shoulder and helped him up. Pei Xing straightened his back. A pair of wandering eyes met with Yiqing Luo's slightly indifferent eyes. "There's no need for you to apologize to me. If you feel that you're not wrong, then you're not wrong." Yiqing Luo looked at him as she replied indifferently. Pei Xing looked into her eyes. There seemed to be something surging in his heart. After a moment, he forcefully closed his eyes and said very slowly, "I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so impulsive. I shouldn't have used the future of treasure gathering just to vent my anger." The expression on Pei Xing's face was complicated. "I know what you mean, Ah Luo. You want me to face everything calmly and not be led by the nose by others." After he awoke from his rage, Pei Xing knew that he was too impulsive. However, he did not regret it. Because he would never allow anyone to insult his father. But, facing Yiqing Luo's flat tone of questioning. However, he couldn't confidently say something like, "I know I was wrong, but I don't regret it." He knew. What Yiqing Luo said was because she was angry. She was angry that he had acted so rashly despite knowing the rules of the auction. With this, the Treasures Gathering Exchange didn't have the qualifications to participate in the auction at all. His impulsiveness had not only harmed the treasure exchange, and also harmed Yiqing Luo. This realization made Pei Xing feel even more guilty. "I should have remembered your words. I should have used my actions to prove Treasure Gathering Society's name instead of acting rashly," but it had already happened. The people he had beaten up were the young masters of 3 of the top 10 trading houses in the trading world. To be able to rank in the top 10 trading houses, the power behind them was not to be underestimated. Those families definitely wouldn't allow treasure gathering to continue participating in the auction. Looking at the guilt on Pei Xing's face, it was clear that he understood the mistake of his impulsiveness. The expression on Yiqing Luo's face eased up slightly. She leaned forward and gently patted Pei Xing's shoulder. He seemed to be comforting Pei Xing. As she approached Pei Xing, she lowered her voice and said to Pei Xing, "You should know that you are now representing the entire Treasure Assembly Exchange. Your every action will be closely watched by others. These 4 people, when the Treasures Trading House was in its prime, you should have been good brothers who talked about everything, right?" Chapter 3651. Obviously, she had guessed correctly again. Yiqing Luo continued, "These 4 people should be intentionally invited by mysterious maiden to agitate you, to lure you into making a move. In this way, treasure gathering will be removed from the auction." Pei Xing's pupils suddenly shrank. Then what should we do?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "Now you know how to be nervous." I was wrong." Pei Xing lowered his head, his tone full of guilt. Yiqing Luo released his shoulder and took a deep look at him. Naturally, she couldn't just watch as treasure gathering was removed from the list. Old Lai was here. The auction would most likely give face to the Underworld Palace. However, Yiqing Luo felt that Qiao Yulu might not give up so easily. She glanced at Pei Xing again and sighed. Forget it. This time, he would treat it as a lesson for Pei Xing. Being able to change the fact that he would go berserk and ignore the consequences whenever he heard insulting words about his father was not a bad thing. However, before this, she still had one more thing to settle. Ahem, all right. Don't blame Boss Pei, Miss D. I'm afraid this is just a misunderstanding. Don't let a misunderstanding affect everyone's relationship. Seeing that Yiqing Luo had stopped reprimanding Pearson, City Lord Lu immediately spoke up to smooth things over. Since Di Luo would reprimand Pei Xing, this meant that Di Luo was trying to resolve this issue. This was an inevitable choice. At this critical juncture, the Treasures Exchange House was in a critical state. If he could avoid causing trouble or standing out, he would try his best to keep a low profile. As long as Di Luo was willing to relent, this matter would definitely be resolved satisfactorily. City Lord Lu heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Then, he looked at the 4 representatives of the auction house with a dignified expression. Since this matter is a misunderstanding, let's shake hands and make peace. Wait for the auction to begin and don't cause any more trouble. The 4 representatives of the trading house were supporting their young masters. When they heard City Lord Lu's words, their faces turned green. He had beaten their young master into a pig's head. How could he say it was a misunderstanding? This was especially true for the representative of the trading firm, who had been beaten to the brink of death and had almost lost half of his life. However, looking at the warning look in Lord Lu's eyes, behind City Lord Lu, there were 2 executive elders with ashen faces. In the end, he kept his mouth shut. They still wanted to participate in the auction. The threat in City Lord Lu's words just now was very obvious. They did not dare to resent City Lord Lu and the executive elder. So he placed all his anger onto the Treasures Exchange Hall, especially on Yiqing Luo. Seeing that the representatives of the 4 trading houses had tacitly agreed with City Lord Lu's words, City Lord Lu then smiled at Yiqing Luo, Miss D. He had only spat out 3 words. The girl's cold, mocking voice rang in his ears. Misunderstanding. Who told you that this was a misunderstanding? City Lord Lu was taken aback. What? Yiqing Luo crossed her arms in front of her chest as she slightly raised her chin and sneered at City Lord Lu. The auction is such a strict and solemn place, and this group of people actually gathered together to bully our Treasures trading house, trying to join hands to chase them away from the 2nd floor. She snorted coldly and slowly took a step forward. He took a step forward. The crowd could only feel an invisible pressure pressing down on them. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as she sneered. They're only questioning City Lord Lu's arrangements? Does City Lord Lu think that this is a misunderstanding? The faces of the representatives of the 4 trading houses alternated between green and white. Chapter 3652. What gathering a crowd to bully Bao Ju? It was obviously their young master, yet he was beaten up by Pei Xing, all right? They swallowed their anger and didn't haggle over it. This young lady actually dared to find trouble with them. One City Lord Lu's expression didn't look too good. Although Yiqing Luo's words seemed to be speaking up for him, teaching those who doubted his authority. But this was obviously Yiqing Luo intentionally dragged him into this. Yiqing Luo had no intention to let these 4 representatives off. Yiqing Luo's action, which made Pei Xing slightly astonished. He didn't quite understand. Luo clearly knew that he was in the wrong for beating them up. City Lord Lu and the executive elder didn't pursue the matter and let Bao Ju continue to stay in the auction. This was already the biggest preferential treatment, wasn't it? Pei Xing looked at Qiao Yinyan in puzzlement, hoping to get an answer. But he saw Qiao Yinyan's puzzled face. But, at the next moment, Xiao Yinyan seemed to have thought of something as a smile surfaced on his face. Pei Xing was puzzled. Xiao Yinyan walked to his side and lightly patted his shoulder as he spoke in a low voice. Earlier, Luo saw the scene of you being bullied by those 4 people outside the door. She is the most protective and can't tolerate anyone bullying her brother in front of her. She is helping you to vent your anger. Xiao Yinyan's words made Pei Xing stunned on the spot. His eyes widened, and there seemed to be something churning in his heart. Luo did it for him, so she did it in this way. Yiqing Luo's overbearing manner and her righteous words made the other party unable to say a single word of rebuttal. City Lord Lu tried to interrupt Yiqing Luo's words several times. But he was interrupted by Yiqing Luo's extremely fast speed. In the end, City Lord Lu's face was steely green, and when Yiqing Luo stopped, he asked with a black face, according to Miss D's meaning, "What does Miss D want?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she slightly raised her chin and smiled. Towards this kind of trading house which doesn't know how to respect the auction's rules and also doubts City Lord Lu's decision. I feel that we should directly cancel their right to participate in the auction. The minute Yiqing Luo's words were heard, the surrounding people started to draw in cold air. The faces of the 4 trading house representatives were livid, and they couldn't help but want to curse angrily. But Yiqing Luo sighed again, but in this way. The punishment towards them is equivalent to cutting off the trading house's escape route. I'm such a kind-hearted person, so I definitely can't bear to do that. As she spoke, she blinked her charming eyes. With a "I'm pure, I'm kind" expression on her face, she looked at the 4 trading house representatives with a smile. How about this? Aside from apologizing to Treasure Gathering, I'll punish you by disqualifying you from staying in the private rooms on the 2nd floor. All of you can go to the 1st floor and participate in the auction. The representatives of the 4 trading houses looked as if a dye vat had been opened. The faces of Governor Liu and the executive elder were extremely ugly. The 2 executive elders looked at each other and said solemnly, "This matter is of great importance. Give us some time to consider." Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. "Take your time to consider, after all I am so kind." The representatives of the 4 trading houses almost vomited blood as they cursed in their hearts, "Kind my ass." The executive elder pulled City Lord Lu and walked towards the direction where there were fewer people. Chapter 3653. City Lord Lu shook his head. "I haven't found out her identity yet." "What relationship does she have with Hell Palace?" Executive Elder's expression was grave. Details that no one else had noticed. Executive Elder sensed it. That Hell Palace senior was very obedient to the young lady's words. No matter what he did, he seemed to notice the young lady's expression. As long as the young lady gave a signal, he would immediately take action. One must know. That bunch of lunatics from Hell Palace were known as the most feared lunatics in the Earth realm. That wasn't without reason. That bunch of lunatics had no rationality at all. They acted according to their own interests. Every powerhouse in the Earth realm wanted to climb up to Hell Palace. But at the same time, they were afraid of Hell Palace. There was no one who could make the Hell Palace's lunatics treat them with respect. That young lady was someone who could order people from Hell Palace around. Who on earth was she? Before they were clear about this matter, the 2 executive elders didn't dare to show any unhappiness towards Yiqing Luo. City Lord Lu's expression turned ugly as he glanced at Yiqing Luo, who was standing not too far away with an indifferent attitude as he clenched his fists. "I heard from Hell Palace's senior that the young lady named Di Luo is their Hell Palace's distinguished guest." Hell Palace's distinguished guest. Executive Elder's brows creased tightly. What kind of distinguished guest could Hell Palace have? Who could make Hell Palace's people treat them as a distinguished guest? I'm not too sure about the exact situation. City Lord Lu had some suspicions towards Yiqing Luo, but after this period of observation, Hell Palace's attitude towards Miss D is absolutely not fake. Executive Elder exchanged glances. If it really implicates Hell Palace and messes up the auction, this is not just our Executive Elder's responsibility. City Lord Lu nodded. On account of Hell Palace's face, we'd better try our best to satisfy Miss D's request. If they made Hell Palace's senior unhappy, Hell Palace came to create a scene. This year's auction would definitely turn into a joke. All those who were in charge of the auction had to bear this responsibility. They didn't want to be the scapegoat. It was better to turn a big problem into a small one and a small one into nothing. At most, after this matter had ended, they would personally talk to those powerhouses behind the exchange. They would personally talk to them. Those forces would more or less give them some face. Pay more attention to the treasures gathering exchange hall, so as to avoid any other strange occurrences during the auction. After the Executive Elder made his decision, he gave a few more instructions. City Lord Lu replied. The three of them returned together to Yiqing Luo and the others. Yiqing Luo looked at them smilingly. Between her long and narrow eyes, light flowed, like rippling streams of light, shining resplendently. It was a smile that could topple a city. However, when City Lord Lu and the two Executive Elders saw this, they felt their chests tighten. Ahem, after our discussion, we feel that Miss D's words make sense. City Lord Lu cleared his throat and announced the decision of the three of them. When the words left his mouth, the faces of the representatives of the four trading houses immediately darkened as they stared at City Lord Lu in disbelief. He was about to open his mouth to argue. Suddenly, a cold and dignified voice stopped City Lord Lu from continuing. Wait. Along with the sound, a hurricane swept through the corridor on the second floor. Following that, two figures appeared before the crowd with lightning speed. Two figures. One tall and one short. One slender like a Lolita. Chapter 36-54. The tall slender woman's cold and arrogant voice resounded. It's not easy to determine who is right and who is wrong in this matter. The air around the two of them dissipated. The figures of the two people were revealed. The two of them were dressed in lotus green robes, and their auras were very strong. Moreover, their expressions were extremely arrogant and unapproachable. City Lord Lu's expression changed slightly upon seeing the two. He secretly exchanged a glance with the Executive Elder. Then, he cupped his hands at the two of them without any change in his expression. Hall Master Ji, Hall Master Lu, why are you two here? If we don't come, are we going to allow the three of you to casually sentence the other trading houses? The lady sneered, as she shot a cold glance towards Yiqing Luo's direction. City Lord Lu had an awkward look on his face. The Executive Elder also felt a bit awkward and didn't retort. The appearance of these two people immediately controlled the rhythm of the entire situation. This boldness made Yiqing Luo couldn't help but take a few more glances. These two are the hall masters of the Linglong Palace's branch, Xiao Yinyan explained. Generally speaking, the auction assembly is formed by the Executive Elder and the Linglong Palace's branch hall. Then there was the city lord of the main city where the auction was held. The CEO was in charge of all the rules and procedures of the annual auction. In other words, they were the representatives of the rules and laws. As for the Linglong Palace's branch hall, it is responsible for the safety and order of the auction. In other words, one was civil and the other was military. This was because the Linglong Palace was a place to nurture the Empyrean fairy. It was a mysterious existence. The people from the Linglong Palace's branch were in charge of the safety and order of the auction. Basically, no one dared to play tricks in the auction. In the past, there had been cases of people killing and robbing people before and after the auction. All of them were chased to the ends of the world by the Linglong Palace's branch hall, and in the end, they died without a complete corpse. After listening to Qiao Yinyan's explanation, Yiqing Luo's expression congealed. Linglong Palace, the palace of Linglong that nurtured Qiao Yulu. This meant that they had come with ill intentions. Moreover, it could be seen. Whether it was City Lord Lu or the executive elder. When facing the two hall masters of the two halls, Zhang Xian's expression changed. His arrogance was suppressed to a very low level. It was as if he was afraid of something. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she directly asked the doubt in her heart. Qiao Yinyan glanced in the direction of the hall master and executive elder and said, "They're afraid of the Linglong Palace. A place that could cultivate the Empyrean fairy." Naturally, it was not an ordinary place. When the people of the Earth Domain faced the Linglong Palace, the Earth Domain's people had no choice. It was like facing the four great sects of the Nirvana realm. A kind of fear and respect had been born in his heart. Looks like my pretentious act is going to fail. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and said with a chuckle. Qiao Yinyan's expression was still very calm. You don't seem to be panicking. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. I'm in the right, naturally I won't panic. While the two were talking, those two hall masters had already sized Yiqing Luo up from head to toe. The eyes of the lowly hall master Lu were filled with disdain and mockery. She ridiculed as her red lips curled upwards, as her lively and adorable big eyes sparkled with a chilly luster. The treasure trading house had seriously injured the representatives of the other four trading houses, and even fell into a coma. Don't tell me that the person in charge of the treasure trading house doesn't intend to say anything. Pei Xing was locked onto by Hall Master Lu's gaze. His entire person froze on the spot. Chapter 3655. I'm asking about the person in charge of treasure gathering, are you? Hall Master Lu glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo as he spoke in an arrogant tone. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Was he trying to intimidate her by showing off his power? Yiqing Luo raised her brows but didn't say another word. She took a look at Pei Xing as she elbowed him. Pei Xing's breathing halted as sweat started to form on his forehead. Why? The person in charge of treasure gathering has nothing to say. Since that's the case, that means he has tacitly agreed to the act of beating up the other four representatives till they fainted. Hall Master Lu's tone suddenly rose. That adorable Lolita face was filled with a dark aura. The sweat on Pei Xing's forehead continued to flow down his face and neck. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. Was this Hall Master Lu someone whom Qiao Yulu asked for help? Intentionally releasing his might. Giving Pei Xing an invisible pressure. Causing Pei Xing to be unable to maintain his consciousness. Just to make Pei Xing admit his own crime. And then, to make use of this as a pretext. Pei Xing's entire body tensed up as he was drenched in cold sweat, staining his robe. Suddenly, Qiao Yinyan walked up and raised his hand, placing it on Pei Xing's shoulder. Pei Xing's body trembled slightly as though he was controlled by some kind of power. That pair of eyes which had widened in fear, slowly regained its clarity and vigor. Person in charge of treasure gathering. Hall Master Lu frowned as he looked at Qiao Yinyan. Probably because Qiao Yinyan was the eldest young master of the Qiao family. But he didn't say anything more. Pei Xing raised his head abruptly as he looked straight at Hall Master Lu. His voice was slightly trembling but he was still very clear. Regarding what Hall Master said, I have an objection. Hall Master Lu's expression congealed slightly as he looked in surprise at Pei Xing who had struggled free from her might, asking, what objection do you have? Pei Xing's face trembled slightly as his eyelashes trembled violently. Apparently, he was feeling nervous. However, he still tried his best to maintain a calm tone as he replied, Hall Master, you should be very clear about the strength of the Treasures Exchange House over the past 5 years. This is my last chance, as well as my only chance. I won't be foolish enough to break the rules of the auction and cause myself to lose my only chance. You mean, you didn't hit them? Hall Master Lu sneered. Pei Xing shook his head. No, I did. Since you've made a move, you've broken the rules of the auction. Hall Master Lu looked at the executive elder and said, since the person in charge of the treasure gathering hall has admitted to it, we'll deal with him according to the rules. Executive elder's expression changed slightly as he looked at Yiqing Luo apprehensively. Wait. Pei Xing interrupted Hall Master Lu. I admit that I made a move, but it's not my fault. I don't think I should bear the responsibility. He didn't wait for Hall Chief Lu to refute and continued, as I said before, this is my only chance. I can't take the initiative to pick a fight. Even if I didn't take the initiative to provoke you, you still made a move on me. Pavilion Master Lu insisted on this point. Pei Xing wanted to say something. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind brushed past him. A white shadow flew out. Powerful profound qi burst out from his body. His hands, which were full of scars, were like sharp claws, and they went straight for Hall Master Lu's face. Hall Master Lu's expression turned grave as he quickly retreated. Hall Master Ji, who was watching from the side, immediately rushed forward and joined forces with Hall Master Lu to counterattack. Both of their expressions were severe as their palms struck downwards. The palm wind brushed past that white shadow. Chapter 36-56. The sudden turn of events caused everyone's attention to be focused on him. Hence, everyone saw a slovenly-looking old man lying on the ground, clutching his stomach and rolling left and right. He kept saying, "I-O-yo, murder. Bullying an old man. Youngsters nowadays don't know how to respect the old and love the young." A few black lines appeared on the foreheads of the crowd when they heard that. Because, this old man who was lying on the ground, it was the senior from the Underworld Palace. How could the senior from the Underworld Palace be sent flying by the Linglong Hall Master? And he was lying on the ground so weakly. Wasn't this too fantastical? That was what everyone was thinking. The two Hall Masters, who were originally filled with arrogance, also thought so. Hall Master Lu's face turned pale as his bright and adorable eyes widened. You're talking nonsense. We didn't hit you at all. Even if it was just the wind from our palms, it's not possible to hit your stomach. Old Lai, who was lying on the ground moaning, suddenly paused and gave a faint "oh." Following that, his hand moved to his chest. He continued to flop on the ground. "I-oh, the Linglong Hall Master is hitting someone at the auction. Beating an old man like me who has no one to rely on and no strength to even truss a chicken. You're trying to take my life. Everyone. City Lord Lu and Executive Elder. The two Linglong Hall Masters. If this old man didn't do it on purpose, they would eat sh*t alive. But no matter what everyone thought in their hearts, Old Lai insisted that the Hall Master was the one who hurt him. His entire body was in pain. He was on the verge of death. This hubbub. Not only the people on the second floor crowded around. Those who were attending the auction on the first floor all crowded over. At this moment, the faces of the two Hall Masters were dark and extremely ugly. Hearing the discussions of those onlookers who didn't know the truth, they gritted their teeth so hard that they almost broke. They couldn't wait to strike this old man who was creating trouble in front of them. The scene was chaotic. Xiao Yinyan's brows were filled with a smile. "This move of yours is really vicious." Giving him a taste of his own medicine. Yiqing Luo replied calmly. He asked Lao Lai to put on a show. Even the Linglong Palace's Hall Master would have some misgivings. Because Old Lai represented the Hell sect. It didn't matter if Old Lai was lying on the ground or not. Those were the hall masters of the Linglong Palace, the ones who had injured the people of the Underworld Palace. If news of this were to spread to the Underworld Palace, those lunatics from the Underworld Palace were definitely going to cause a huge commotion. Everyone was absolutely convinced. The Underworld Palace didn't care what kind of place the Linglong Palace was. Did they have the strength to fight against Linglong Palace? In any case, I'll just kill him first. No one could keep up with the Underworld Palace's train of thought. Therefore, the two hall masters of the Linglong Palace knew that Old Lai was pretending. However, he still did not dare to act rashly. Listening to the surrounding people pointing and gossiping, Hall Master Lu's face turned pale. He said in exasperation, "The Underworld Palace's people were injured because he attacked first. I was just defending myself. Besides, we're talking about the person in charge of Treasure's assembly right now. Don't try to confuse us." She tried hard to change the topic. However, he was interrupted by a contemptuous sneer. Hall Master Lu's gaze was sinister as he looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw that young lady who was standing in front of Pei Xing slowly walking towards Old Lai. Chapter 3657. No matter if Old Lai made the first move, but it's a fact that you injured him. Yiqing Luo was supporting Old Lai as she raised her head, staring coldly at Hall Master Lu. The moment she said that, Hall Master Lu's face turned green and red. This slut was repeating the words that she had said to Pei Xing earlier on back onto her. Not waiting for Hall Master Lu to speak, the young lady curled her pink lips again, slightly arching her brows, filled with contempt and disdain. As the person in charge of the auction, the executive, isn't it a bigger mistake to break the law unknowingly? She paused slightly and continued, "Of course, I'm not trying to confuse the public. Just like what Hall Master Lu said to Ah Sheng earlier, no matter what the reason is, Ah Sheng is in the wrong since he made the first move. Then why is Hall Master Lu so stubbornly arguing that it was Old Lai who made the first move?" It was only then that Hall Master Lu realized what it felt like to be sullen. Refute? How was she going to refute? If she retorted, wouldn't that be slapping her own mouth? If she didn't refute, did she really have to admit that she was in the wrong for injuring Hell Palace's people? Not to mention that after admitting it, she would slap her own mouth. Just say that she admitted to injuring Hell Palace's people. That would be forming a feud with Hell Palace's people. This was the first time Hall Master Lu felt so sullen. Hall Master Ji frowned arrogantly, looking at the rhythm which was originally in her grasp being easily taken away by a young lady. The gaze she shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with probing. Hall Master Lu cast a pleading look. Hall Master Ji's brows creased even tighter. But looking at the young lady's calm face, she still took a step forward. Her tone was cold, full of a royal elder sister's demeanor. "This matter, the auction will give Hell Palace's senior an explanation, but the matter of treasure gathering's person in charge injuring someone, there must be an explanation." While Hall Master Ji was saying this, her gaze was completely on Yiqing Luo. The chilliness in her eyes seemed to be threatening Yiqing Luo. Facing the incoming pressure, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change as her lips curled into a faint arc. Her voice was calm. "Hall Master Ji is right, treasure gathering indeed needs an explanation." Yiqing Luo raised her chin slightly. Boundless aura flames shot out from all directions. Carrying with it a boundless might, it corroded Hall Master Ji and Hall Master Lu. Yiqing Luo totally did not restrain her imposing manner. His gaze was like a burning torch as he stared at the two Hall Masters, and he said word by word, "It's common knowledge that Ah Sheng's strength is weak, and he's just an ordinary profounder. And, through the discussions of the surrounding people, I understand some things." She raised her hand and pointed to the front, in the direction of the representatives of the four trading houses. Although they are all hedonistic sons of rich families, their strength is not bad under the nurturing of the forces behind them. At least, they are above Xing. Yiqing Luo's tone abruptly rose as her tone became heavier, for cultivators who have been groomed, against a weak Xing who had never cultivated since 5 years ago. She paused for a moment and fixed her gaze on the Hall Master. Please tell me, Hall Masters, how did Xing defeat the 4 of them by himself? Furthermore, the 4 of them had no chance to retaliate. Following Yiqing Luo's interrogation, the people around all sucked in a breath of cold air. What she said was simply too logical. No matter who it was, they were unable to believe it. Chapter 36:58. If there was no plan behind this, no premeditated. They wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. Wait a minute, plan. Premeditated. Why? To design a trading house which had been at the bottom of the auction for 4 consecutive years. This stance was obviously to make use of the person in charge of the treasure-gathering trading house to injure the representatives of the other 4 trading houses, to cancel the treasure-gathering's qualification to participate in the auction. Not only to cancel the auction's qualification, but also to offend the 4 top 10 trading houses. Even if the treasure gathering was removed from the auction, that would also incur the revenge of the 4 trading houses. He was planning on killing Zhu Bao, not giving Zhu Bao the slightest chance of survival. Who on earth had such a huge enmity with the treasure gathering? This answer surfaced in everyone's mind. But no one dared to say out that person's name. When Yiqing Luo raised this doubt, the expressions of the 2 hall masters froze on their faces. Their faces were dead silent and pitch black. There was no need to guess. The person who wanted to put the treasure gathering to death, other than Qiao Yulu, there was no second person. Their own minds followed Yiqing Luo's words, as Qiao Yulu's figure surfaced. Not to mention the surrounding crowd. The 2 hall masters exchanged glances with one another, being stirred up by Yiqing Luo. Their motive had become extremely tricky. And at this moment, Yiqing Luo had no intention to let it go. Her eyes were calm, as her smile was faint. The flame around her was slightly still. Previously Xing also said that this is the treasure gathering's one and only chance. Who in the entire without embroiling city doesn't know that Xing treats the treasure gathering as his own life? Who would use their own life as a joke? Speaking to this point, Yiqing Luo intentionally stopped talking. A pair of originally indifferent eyes suddenly became as sharp as a blade, as it swept across the surrounding crowd. Wherever her gaze landed, it was as if she was covered by ice. Everyone couldn't help but shiver. Finally, the young lady's gaze fixed on the hall master. It was at that moment the young lady's flame suddenly exploded. An invisible pressure densely spread in the air. She looked at the hall master, speaking word by word. I seriously suspect that someone wants to make use of this opportunity to frame the treasure gathering, to scheme against it. As a partner of treasure gathering, I raise an objection to the auction. I hope that the auction can give treasure gathering an explanation. The girl's voice was sonorous and forceful. It also had an irresistible charm. It was extremely shocking. Even the 2 hall masters were stunned by Yiqing Luo until their pupils went into a daze as they stood rooted to the ground. After a long while, Hall Master Ji finally regained his senses and said, Everything you've said is just your guess. The injuries on the representatives of the 4 trading firms can't be faked. Little girl, do you mean the fact that I was injured by the 2 of you was fake? Lao Lai, who was lying on the ground, felt unbalanced. He abruptly sat up straight and pressed his hand on his chest as he coldly snorted and said, I've already made my intentions clear. Since you insist on using this matter to make things difficult for that kid Pei Xing, then I'll make things difficult for you. I'd like to see what kind of despicable abilities you people from Ling Long Palace Hall have. He had to admit it. Old Lie's maneuver was simply amazing. This protectiveness was simply too amazing. Lao Lie's words successfully made the two hall masters' faces turn livid. At this moment, the two of them could be said to be riding a tiger, unable to back down. Chapter 3659. Not only would Pei Xing not be punished according to the original plan, they would also bear the burden of Linglong Palace was afraid of the Underworld Palace. If such words were spread out, Linglong Palace would never let them off. However, if they really disregarded Old Lie's reputation and insisted on using Pei Xing's injury incident as a pretext to make a fuss, that would be openly challenging the Underworld Palace. When the Underworld Palace really went crazy and rushed to Linglong Palace to make a scene, the two of them would be the ones to bear the blame. It was more likely that Linglong Palace would even want to appease the Underworld Palace. They would directly hand the two of them over. It was not right to advance or retreat. Hall Master Lu felt like vomiting blood. She kept looking at Castellan Lu and the executive elder. However, those people all averted their gazes, deliberately avoiding eye contact with her. Her bright eyes flickered. Suddenly, his gaze fell on the tall figure of Hall Master Ji. A trace of treachery flashed in her eyes. She was about to speak. The person beside him suddenly raised his voice, interrupting Hall Master Lu's words before he could speak. Rules are rules. No one can violate the rules of the auction. Without rules, nothing can be accomplished. If everyone was like you, fighting in the trading hall because of a disagreement, wouldn't the auction be in a mess? Hall Master Ji looked impartial and said solemnly, no matter what the person in charge of the auction house did, whether it was a scheme or a trap, now, he has to accept the punishment for injuring someone. She paused and suddenly raised her hand to grab Hall Master Lu, who was as petite as a Lolita. Hall Master Lu did not have time to react. Her arms were already grabbed by Hall Master Ji. She couldn't even break free from his grip. Hall Master Lu's expression was cold. Of course, as the person in charge of the auction, it is a fact that Hall Master Lu injured someone. Therefore, Hall Master Lu will also punish him according to the rules of the auction. You. Hall Master Lu's face turned pale. She turned her head and glared at Hall Master Ji. However, Hall Master Ji did not seem to notice her gaze at all. Instead, he looked at Castellan Lu and the executive elder with a straight face and said, "How about we settle this matter this way?" Everyone was shocked. He really didn't expect that. Hall Master Ji was willing to sacrifice his comrade's life. He was determined to get Pei Xing off the stage. Just how big of a grudge was this? When Yiqing Luo heard Hall Master Ji's words, her brows sunk slightly. She hadn't expected that either. To think that Hall Master Ji would resort to such a self-harming method to get Pei Xing to leave the auction. He had made up his mind. Not letting her win the honor of the best trading house for treasure-gathering auction. This time, this is going to be difficult. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as her mind spun quickly. At this moment, suddenly, the door of a private room that had been tightly shut not far away slowly opened. A man dressed in black as a dark guard slowly walked through the crowd and walked over. The crowd was initially very impatient because of the pushing and shoving. But as soon as he saw the black-clothed hidden guard, he felt a chill run down his spine. All of them suppressed all their emotions in their hearts. They obediently made way for the black-clothed secret guard to pass. The black-clothed shadow guard walked up to the two hall masters. The discussions in the surroundings came to an abrupt halt. The entire corridor on the second floor fell into silence. Chapter 3660. When the black-clothed secret guard spoke, Yiqing Luo could obviously hear a series of breaths being sucked in. Even Hall Master Ji's face darkened and darkened. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He couldn't understand why this black-clothed hidden guard would come out to help the treasure-gathering trading house. Those from the Scarlet Clear Pavilion, Xiao Yinyan couldn't help but be surprised when he saw the black-clothed hidden guard. He squinted his eyes as his gaze slowly shifted onto Yiqing Luo. He felt that the people from the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion did not appear to help the treasure-gathering exchange house. It was because of Luo. It was an intuition. However, why would Luo be in contact with people from the Red Clearness Pavilion? Red Clear Pavilion. Yiqing Luo heard Xiao Yinyan's mutter and looked over in puzzlement. Xiao Yinyan was taken aback. You don't know about the Red Clear Pavilion? Yiqing Luo hesitated for a moment. I don't really listen to the news from the outside world. She was someone who had just come to the upper realm from the Nirvana realm not too long ago. She didn't know anything about the famous people in the Earth realm. It was Elder Wen Song. Old Man Song, who had been asleep for many years, probably wouldn't understand either. Xiao Yinyan shifted a few steps closer to Yiqing Luo. The two hall masters' gazes shifted onto Yiqing Luo. His eyes were surging with endless anger. But he didn't dare to flare up. Xiao Yinyan stared at him and said in a low voice, "The Red Clear Pavilion is a mysterious force in the upper realm. They travel to various places in the upper realm, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Rumor has it that Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master is someone from the heaven realm and his strength is extraordinary. A mysterious force. A mysterious force created by the people of heaven realm. It was no wonder that when the citizens saw the black-clothed shadow guards, they were terrified. They all became respectful and courteous, not daring to utter a single word. They were all afraid of the power of the Red Clear Pavilion. However, with the strength of the heaven realm, why would they appear and speak up for Zhu Bao? You really don't know about the Red Clear Pavilion. Xiao Yinyan saw Yiqing Luo's enlightened expression, as he was astonished. Yiqing Luo shook her head, although it sounds very powerful, but I really don't know. Xiao Yinyan narrowed his eyes. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Surely you don't think that the reason why the Red Clear Pavilion spoke up for the Treasures Exchange Hall is because of me? I'm not assuming. Xiao Yinyan glanced at her. I'm sure. Yiqing Luo. She obviously had a physique that attracted hatred wherever she went. It wasn't a physique that could attract people's liking and make people help them. While they were talking, Hall Master Ji had already loosened his grip on Hall Master Lu. Hall Master Ji's face darkened. Why is the pavilion master here? This is not something you can ask. The black-clothed shadow guard said coldly. Hall Master Ji's face turned ashen when he was rebuked in front of everyone. He averted his gaze in embarrassment. Hall Master Lu sneered as he glanced at Hall Master Ji. He was still holding a grudge against Hall Master Ji for what she had done to him earlier. Hall Master Lu sneered, what a pity. Lord Pavilion Master wanted to protect the treasures trading house, but your plans have all failed. We're working together. Hall Master Ji clenched his fists and glared at Zhang Xian angrily. Do you think you're any better than me? I'm happy to see you unhappy, Hall Master Lu said disapprovingly. You. Just as the two Hall Masters were about to start a fight, City Lord Lu immediately came out to smooth things over. All right. Since the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master has personally testified for the Treasures Exchange Hall, that means that this matter is indeed not the Treasures Exchange Hall's fault. Chapter 3661. How could this be? The representatives of the four trading houses, who were supporting their young masters, immediately turned pale. This is clearly him, how could you? They couldn't even speak clearly. Obviously, they were very angry. City Lord Lu didn't wait for them to finish speaking and had already interrupted them sternly. Miss D is right, the young masters of these 4 trading houses used the rules of the auction to frame other trading houses. This kind of behavior is really too despicable. As the organizer, we will definitely give the treasure gathering an explanation. The executive elder also followed. This attitude made the representatives of the 4 trading houses so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. There was also the trading house that was dissatisfied and wanted to refute. However, it was stopped by the side of the trading house that was watching the show. Forget it, the Red Clear Court has already stepped in. It is already the best result that they didn't take your lives. You should be content, don't make your situation even more ugly. The face of the representative of the trading house was flushed red. City Lord Lu coughed lightly. In case of accidents, hurriedly called over the people of the 4 trading houses and directly forcibly took them downstairs. No matter how the 4 trading houses begged for mercy, no one cared. Until the representatives of the 4 trading houses were directly thrown out of the auction in front of everyone's eyes. For a moment, they suffered all kinds of pointing and criticism from the citizens that came and went. Smelly old man, let me tell you. If you don't help me get justice today, I will definitely ask my father to kick you out of the trading house. When had the young masters who were beaten suffered such grievances? They instantly felt that they had lost face and started to shout. The representatives of the few trading houses looked at their young masters whose face was red and swollen like a pig's head. They really wanted to punch him. You dare to be arrogant now? Why is it that when you were inside, you were like a turtle with its head in its shell and didn't say a word? Of all people, you had to provoke the treasure-gathering trading house that has already climbed up the tree. You still have the face to blame us. Don't you have any eyesight? The treasure-gathering trading house was able to climb up after being at the bottom for as long as 4 years, and even let the auction house arrange the treasure-gathering on the 2nd floor, you should know clearly. If it didn't have this ability, would it be arranged on the 2nd floor? You still have the face to yell at us. Think about how you're going to explain this to boss and the people behind you when you get back. The representatives were also fuming with rage. He was having a headache after being messed around by these few young masters. Young Master Wang held on to his broken hand and felt wronged. We didn't do it on purpose. It's all because of that woman. If we had known that treasure gathering had such a strong backer, we wouldn't have been bewitched by that woman. That woman is too ruthless. To think that she's the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City. Bah! The 3 young masters, who were still conscious, ridiculed each other. The representatives understood the deeper meaning behind his words, and their expressions froze. What woman? What Empyrean fairy? It's the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City, that Princess Yulu. She told us where the treasure-gathering hall is located on the 2nd floor and intentionally provoked us to go over and greet her. The representatives looked at each other. The Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City. Their eyes lit up, and they quickly walked toward the auction. We want to see City Lord Lu. We have something to say. At this moment, the people on the 2nd floor had no idea what was happening below. Chapter 3662. Yiqing Luo speechlessly looked at the fawning City Lord Lu. The moment the people from Red Clear Pavilion appeared, everyone felt that this Red Clear Pavilion was here for her. Di Fu, cough, Miss D. That old lie who was originally injured suddenly jumped up from the ground and rushed to Yiqing Luo's side. When did you hook up with the people from Red Clear Pavilion? You obviously agreed to let me help you. How could I let that Red Clear Pavilion snatch my limelight? Old Lie's face was filled with unwillingness as he stared resentfully at the black-robed guard. Yiqing Luo once again. Damn it. She really didn't know anyone from Red Clear Pavilion. and had nothing to do with people from Heaven Realm. No, that's not right. Jean Z was also considered as someone from Heaven Realm. But Jean Z, that Huangfu family's man. When he saw her, he probably couldn't wait to find trouble with her. It was impossible for him to use the name of Red Clear Pavilion to help. So a large group of people thought that Red Clear Pavilion appeared because of her. What kind of joke was this? Just at this moment, the black-clothed dark team guard, whom Old Lai had glared at with hatred, walked toward them step by step. Every step he took, Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. Old Lai directly stood in front of her and opened up his arms, blocking her behind his back. Following that, he put on a protective expression. People from Red Clear Pavilion, this is Hell Palace's VIP, don't even think of snatching. However, his valiant and high-spirited declaration of sovereignty didn't make the black-robed guard's expression waver at all. The black-robed guard only stood in front of Old Lai. His vision went past Old Lai and looked towards Yiqing Luo. Miss, my master invites you over. Everyone stared at the black-robed guard in astonishment and looked at Yiqing Luo. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and disbelief. Whereas Qiao Yinyan, Pei Xing and Old Man Tsang all had an expression of, indeed. They were here for all Luo. Yiqing Luo. Motherf ** Ker. Red Clear Pavilion's target was really for her. Mississippi, the black-robed guard called out in a heavy tone. Yiqing Luo gathered her thoughts and frowned at him. Who is your master? It didn't take long for her to reach the Earth domain. This Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master, who was known as a mysterious force, actually wanted to see her. This action of speaking up for the treasures trading firm. Was it a good deed or a bad deed? The black-clothed secret guard said indifferently, you will know once you follow me in. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. If you don't explain clearly, I'm just a young lady with no strength to truss a chicken, with a devastatingly beautiful face. If I follow you like this, what should I do if your master's bestial nature flares up? As she spoke, she waved her hand. I'm not going. The onlookers, too weak to even strangle a chicken? Girl, are you sure you understand the true meaning of this word? Furthermore, if the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion really took a fancy to you and his bestial nature was unleashed, wouldn't that be your good fortune? Wasn't it enough to have the master of the Red Clarity Pavilion as his backing? The surrounding spectators all wished that they could enter the eyes of the Scarlet Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. The black-robed secret guard was apparently agitated by Yiqing Luo's shameless words. That expressionless face twitched a little. Following that, his cold eyes stared at Yiqing Luo as he spoke calmly. Master said, he guessed that you would say that, so he asked me to pass on a message to you. The crowd pricked up their ears. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the black-robed secret guard. Chapter 3663. I go. Yiqing Luo's gaze turned cold as she raised her tone, interrupting the black-robed guard's words. Ah Luo. Qiao Yinyan and Pei Xing looked worriedly at the black-robed guard and looked at Yiqing Luo. They totally didn't understand the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. Leaving all Luo alone to meet that mysterious man. How could they be at ease? Old Lai, who was ignored by the black-robed guard, had an ugly expression. Who is your pavilion master? How dare you snatch someone from me? I'm telling you, with me here today, none of you can. Old Lai. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and placed it on Old Lai's shoulder. She patted lightly on Old Lai's shoulder. No matter, his master might be an old acquaintance. The name that the black-clothed secret guard had called out was Miss Yi. In other words, the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master knew her real identity. Most importantly, although the black-robed guard's expression was cold, his attitude towards her wasn't considered good. But she could tell. The other party didn't have any murderous intent. Moreover, the other party had appeared and helped her earlier. She was also curious who the other party was. Seeing Yi-Ching Luo's insistence, the few of them had a solemn expression as they looked at each other for a moment. Old Lai then put on an abandoned expression as he gave a heavy harumph. He strode towards the previous cabin and entered. City Lord Lu immediately tried to smooth things over with a smile. The auction is about to start, please don't take this episode to heart. Following that, he smiled towards Pei Xing's direction, young Master Chiao, Boss Pei, both of you return to your cabin to rest for a while. I guarantee that no one else will disturb the treasure-gathering cabin. There was no need for his guarantee at all. The Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master had personally invited Di Luo. Who else would take things too hard to find trouble with the treasure-gathering? Under City Lord Lu and the executive elder's insistent request, the VIPs on the second floor also returned to their own cabins. But the topic of discussion was no longer about the auction, what good items would be put up for auction in the auction. But it was about Di Luo's identity, as well as the relationship between Di Luo and the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. On the other side, Yi-Ching Luo followed the black-robed guard and stopped at the entrance of the cabin. The black-clothed secret guard stopped in his tracks. He had no intention of entering. Yi-Ching Luo glanced sideways at the black-robed secret guard as she extended her perception towards the interior of the house. The bodyguard in black glanced at her and said indifferently, I'll be waiting for you inside. Yi-Ching Luo's perception swept around. He didn't sense anyone's aura in the room. Yi-Ching Luo frowned slightly. She couldn't sense anything with her senses. Or, there was really nothing inside. Either that or the person in the room was more powerful than her. Moreover, it was higher than her profound rank by at least 3 ranks. Although, in the Earth realm, there were countless people who had higher profound ranks than her. But, with her perception, even when facing Qiao Yulu, who had used external power to break through to the divine profound realm, she was still able to react. Her heart froze up tightly. Miss Yi, if you're not willing to go in, I don't mind helping you. The black-robed secret guard saw Yi-Ching Luo not taking any action and opened his mouth to urge. True enough. This person knew her true identity. She raised her hand and placed it on the door handle. But she didn't push the door open. Instead she raised her head and looked at the black-robed secret guard, your master, who exactly is he? Chapter 36-64. Yi-Ching Luo hadn't had the chance to probe further. Suddenly, the room door creaked open automatically. Yi-Ching Luo's hand which was on the door handle sank downwards. Her body unconsciously staggered forward. Her feet hit the door sill. Her entire body fell downwards, F***K. Yi-Ching Luo cursed in her heart. How unlucky could she be? She was about to take a deep breath to stabilize her body which was about to kiss the earth. She hadn't had the time to react. She only felt a familiar smell coming from her nostrils. A simple yet elegant plum fragrance lingered in her nostrils. A pair of thick arms steadily caught her. Yi-Ching Luo froze. This aura was familiar. Almost a whiff. Yi-Ching Luo was able to ascertain the other party's identity. But she couldn't understand. Why would he appear here? Yi-Ching Luo frowned as she struggled to break free from the wrist which was restraining her arm. But that arm which was supporting her suddenly increased the strength of his hands. Her delicate body was locked tightly in the other party's arms. Yi-Ching Luo's brows knitted even tighter. She looked up angrily. The moment she looked up, she met a pair of deep as the abyss, with a bottomless black pupils. That pair of eyes were extremely dark and gloomy. It was quiet and serene, without the slightest bit of brilliance. Just staring fixedly at Yiqing Luo. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. However, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see deep emotions in the depths of those black eyes. Yiqing Luo's delicate body stiffened as her pink lips pursed slightly. Let go. She hugged the man at such a close distance. It made Yiqing Luo feel extremely uncomfortable. Her body was repulsed by any intimate touch from the opposite sex other than Dmo Xian. I won't let go. The man opened his mouth, his voice was deep and his pair of dark eyes became increasingly deep. I miss you very much. Even when I see you, I can't bear to let go. Following his words, he even forcefully pulled Yiqing Luo into his arms. Both arms hugged the young lady's delicate body tightly, as though he wanted to taint the young lady's body with his scent. That plum fragrance, although simple yet elegant. But Yiqing Luo couldn't stand it. Her eyelashes fluttered, and she grabbed his hand that was restraining her. Zhu Wuxin, let go of me. The person in front of him, it was none other than Zhu Wuxin. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhu Wuxin. Yiqing Luo had not expected that she would be able to meet Zhu Wuxian when she reached the earth boundary. Previously, she had indeed guessed Zhu Wuxin's identity. He was definitely not just the castle lord of Death God Castle in the lower realm, or the Chu Wuxin who was respectfully addressed as Young Master Zhu. However, she didn't expect Chu Wuxin to be such a famous figure in the upper three realms. Since, he was a mysterious force in the upper realm, and it was said that he was from the heaven realm. Why did he have to go to the lower world to cooperate with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness? Moreover, since Zhu Wuxin was someone from the upper realm, it was impossible for him to do so. In that case, what happened when Zhu Wuxin and the original owner of this body decided on a relationship over 10 years ago? When Zhu Wuxin heard her soft rebuke, he laughed softly. A faint smile bloomed on that cold and contoured face. He smiled, Yiqing Luo, I finally heard you calling my name, I miss you so much. Yiqing Luo's face didn't show any joy of reuniting with an old friend. She pursed her lips tightly as her tone was displeased. If you want to reminisce about the past, let go of me now. Otherwise, if you continue to maintain this position, then there's nothing for us to talk about. Chapter 3665. Yiqing Luo, who had left Zhu Wuxian's embrace, moved and immediately distanced herself from Zhu Wuxian by 5 steps. She stood at the other corner of the room as she looked at him warily. Why are you here? Zhu Wuxian was still smiling. It made his handsome face, which was cold and stiff, look much gentler in contrast. Especially that pair of deep black eyes, it was tainted with a faint warmth. This was a smile from the bottom of his heart. His vision had always been following Yiqing Luo. As though he was looking at his own treasure, cherishing and deep, you're here, so I'm here. Words filled with deep emotions. But it made Yiqing Luo tremble. You followed me? No. Zhu Wuxian replied straightforwardly. Yiqing Luo didn't let her guard down. Then how did you know that I'm here? Zhu Wuxian remained silent for a moment as the emotions in his eyes had some changes. The only thing that didn't change was that he kept staring at Yiqing Luo, not willing to shift his gaze away. I know that you're in the earth boundary, so I followed you here. He paused. When I heard the name Di Luo, I knew. It must be you. So here I am. Yiqing Luo looked at Zhu Wuxian for some time. Finally, she retracted her vigilant gaze. Based on Zhu Wuxian's character, he shouldn't be lying. Why did you come here to look for me? Or could it be that the people from Secluded Palace are also in the earth boundary? Yiqing Luo sat on the chair by the side as she frowned slightly. She recalled the black-robed men who had set up the soul-devouring array and made use of Qiao Yulu to kill her. Those black-robed men seemed to want her soul. She had been guessing. Could those black-robed men be from secluded palace? Now that she saw Zhu Wuaxian, Yiqing Luo was even more suspicious of those black-robed men's identities. I've already cancelled the collaboration with secluded palace. Zhu Wuaxian's eyes were burning as his dark eyes were filled with cloying gentleness. Yiqing Luo, secluded palace hurt you, so I can't help them anymore. Hurt me? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. It seems that when we were in Nirvana realm, secluded palace had done quite a number of things to hurt me. Zhu Wuaxian's expression finally showed some changes. He frowned. I'm sorry. This baffling apology made Yiqing Luo slightly stunned. Then, he understood the meaning behind Zhu Wuxian's apology. He was apologizing for working with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Yiqing Luo met his gaze calmly and indifferently. There's no need to apologize for what has already happened. Moreover, this indeed has nothing much to do with you. Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian frowned. I don't like the look in your eyes, and I don't like you excluding me. Yiqing Luo stood up. Thank you for your help earlier. I will return this favor to you if there's a chance. As she spoke, she walked towards the door. The auction is about to begin. I'll head back to treasure gathering first. Yiqing Luo. Her feet had yet to move. Zhu Wuxian's low and hoarse voice came from behind. His voice was very soft, and there was a hint of hurt in it. An old friend reuniting in an old place. Must you use this kind of attitude to face me? I'm helping you, not because I want a favor from you. A young man who had always been indifferent. At this moment, he uttered a long string of words. Yiqing Luo didn't turn back and couldn't see her expression clearly. Chapter 3666. The more they got involved, it would only make Zhu Wuaxian's feelings for her grow deeper. She was unable to reciprocate his feelings. She shouldn't get too involved with Zhu Wuaxian. As for the favor of helping you gather treasure, no matter if you accept it or not, I will definitely return it. Yiqing Luo secretly said resolutely. Zhu Wuaxian fixed his gaze on the young lady's eyes. Looking at the young lady's pair of charming eyes, it was filled with sincerity and determination. His heart seemed to have been pierced fiercely by something. He could tell. Yiqing Luo really didn't want to get too involved with him. He could tell. Yiqing Luo was avoiding the feelings between them. His lips suddenly curled upwards as he smiled. That handsome icy cold face seemed to surface with a layer of pain emotion. Obviously knowing that she didn't want to get too involved with him. Obviously knowing that she was unable to accept his feelings. But, he couldn't control his heart. He couldn't control the urge to get closer to Yiqing Luo. Even if he was hated. At least, in her heart, there was still a place for him. Zhu Wuaxian's eyes suddenly flashed. His figure followed closely and got closer to Yiqing Luo. The sudden plum fragrance assaulted her senses. Yiqing Luo staggered a step backwards. But her wrist was caught by Zhu Wuaxian. Yiqing Luo wanted to struggle. Zhu Wuaxian's grip became even tighter. His slender fingers wrapped tightly around her wrist. Beneath his eyes, there was a glint which hid a deep meaning which no one could see clearly. When Yiqing Luo met his eyes, she was stunned by his eyes which were as deep as the sea. You said, you want to return the favor, right? Zhu Wuaxian's voice was very low and filled with magnetism. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she slightly struggled against his hand and her pink lips pursed slightly, yes. Instead, Zhu Wuxian tightened his grip on her wrist and leaned forward. Yiqing Luo fell into Zhu Wuxian's arms. Just as she was about to struggle, a man's low and hoarse voice floated from above her head, then. The favor I want you to return is to accompany me during the auction. Yiqing Luo's hands were placed on his chest, trying to pull apart the distance between them. He was about to refuse. The man's voice floated down again. I don't ask you to stay by my side. I just want to watch you during the auction. Once the auction is over, I will leave the Earth domain. His voice sounded a little lonely. Just listening to it made one's heart ache. It's just a small request. Can't I? Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with complicated emotions. Her eyelashes fluttered, and her heart felt heavy and uncomfortable. To be honest, she did not dislike Zhu Wuxian. She also admired his persistence in love. Even if it was just his stubbornness and not love. But he still insisted that he liked her heart. If not for Zhu Wuxian's stubbornness towards her. Perhaps they could really become good friends. Listening to the man's low voice, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. Yiqing Luo's heart wasn't feeling good at all. She sighed. Okay, I promise you. Zhu Wuxian loosened his arms around her, his eyes filled with a faint smile. Thank you. Yiqing Luo looked at him with a complicated expression. The usually cold young man, in front of her, was like a kid who had stolen candy. It was impossible to say that her heart wasn't touched. Of course, this touch didn't mean that she was touched by his feelings. Only. Her heart ached a little. Her heart ached for his persistence towards the original owner. Chapter 3667. I need to go over and greet the brothers from the treasure gathering first, they will be worried. Yiqing Luo retreated a few steps away from Zhu Wuxian and said. Zhu Wuxian's brows rose. You've just arrived in the Earth realm not too long ago and you've already integrated into the Earth realm's lifestyle so quickly. He paused as he squinted his eyes. You even became brothers with those people. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she didn't reply him but her eyes flickered slightly as she looked at him in puzzlement. Didn't you say that you didn't follow me? Then how do you know that I've just arrived in the Earth realm not too long ago? According to what DMO Xian said. She had been in the Earth realm for at least a month. Zhu Wuxian didn't know that she had been unconscious for at least half a month before she regained consciousness. How could he be so certain that she had just arrived in the Earth realm not too long ago? Zhu Wuxian's expression didn't change as his deep eyes looked deeply at her. The day you left Nirvana realm, I sensed your presence disappearing in Nirvana realm and I roughly guessed your whereabouts. He laughed lightly, but... You're indeed you. No matter where you go, there will always be people who will succumb to your charm. He smiled as he looked at her with a gentle and deep gaze. Yiqing Luo felt a little uncomfortable from that gaze. She averted her gaze and coughed lightly. Treat people with sincerity and you will get those who treat you sincerely. I'll greet them first. Saying that, she hurriedly opened the room door and walked out. Yiqing Luo didn't turn back. Naturally she didn't see it. At the instant when her gaze shifted away. That young man who was looking at her with a burning gaze, had a slight change in his expression. He heaved a sigh of relief, as though he had avoided a certain topic. After coming out from Zhu Wuxian's cabin, Yiqing Luo felt the gazes from all directions converging onto her. Everyone was curious. Her relationship with the Red Clear Pavilion Master. They were all curious about the outcome after her meeting with the Red Clear Pavilion Master. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about those gazes which were shot at her. She headed directly towards the treasure-gathering cabin. Wherever she passed by, as long as there was someone passing by, they would subconsciously give way to her. Yiqing Luo, after getting involved with the Red Clear Pavilion Master. How could he even get preferential treatment? Before he could get far, he saw Pei Xing and the others rushing over. On seeing that Yiqing Luo was safe and sound, his anxious and solemn expression loosened up. "You're finally out." Qiao Yinyan sized up Yiqing Luo for a moment. "Is the person inside Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master?" Yiqing Luo nodded her head. "Are you really acquainted with the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion's pavilion master?" Qiao Yinyan asked with a complicated expression. From seeing Yiqing Luo safe and sound, walking out of the Red Clear Pavilion's private room. Basically, he could confirm it. The relationship between Yiqing Luo and the Red Clear Pavilion was not shallow. Qiao Yinyan was a little surprised. Not only did Yiqing Luo have a close relationship with the Hell Palace. Now, even the Red Clear Pavilion had contacted them. Luo, did the Red Clarity Pavilion make things difficult for you?" Pei Xing asked worriedly. Yiqing Luo shook her head. "I'm fine. I'm old friends with the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. Go to the private room and wait first. If there's anything else, come over to this private room to look for me. Red Clear Pavilion's people won't dare to stop you. You're not coming back to the private room with us." Qiao Yinyan frowned. Chapter 3668. Qiao Yinyan's brows creased even tighter as his gaze towards Yiqing Luo was filled with deep thoughts. Yiqing Luo smiled at him. "During the auction, mysterious maiden might make a move, so be careful." The two of them wanted to say something. But looking at Yiqing Luo's gaze, they didn't say anything in the end. After sending the two of them back to the cabin, Yiqing Luo then returned to Zhu Wuxian's cabin. Old Lai chased after her as he hollered, "Ask that whatever pavilion master from Red Clear Pavilion to come out and battle with me. He dares to snatch the person whom I want to protect." This clamor attracted the attention of even more people. Some of them were even more curious about Yiqing Luo's identity. Qiao Yinyan and Pei Xing tried their best to persuade Old Lai to return. Hearing the holler behind her, Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly. She had just stepped into the room. Between her nostrils, an elegant plum fragrance entered her nostrils. The young man's fingers moved as he stretched out towards the young lady. This time, the young lady was long prepared. Just as the plum fragrance assailed her nostrils, her figure had already agilely evaded to the side. The young man's hands hugged the empty air. His hands froze in midair as he suddenly laughed lightly. "I thought you wouldn't come over." Yiqing Luo walked to the chair by the side and sat down as she lifted the curtain in front and looked at the scene of the auction on the first floor. "I promised you, so naturally I will come over." Zhu Wuxian slowly walked to her side as his voice was slightly hoarse. "You also promised to become my wife, but in the end didn't you still go back on your words?" Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She couldn't possibly say that the person who promised to marry him wasn't her. Zhu Wuxian didn't continue to harp on this topic as he sat beside Yiqing Luo. "Hell Palace's people seem to value you very much. Since when were you able to subdue that bunch of lunatics from Hell Palace?" The design of the second floor's cabin was extremely ingenious. Even if the covering curtain was lifted from all directions, including the first floor of the auction, no one was able to see clearly who the person in the cabin was. But even if they couldn't see the person in the cabin clearly, Yiqing Luo also noticed that most of the people present were looking towards the direction of this cabin. Evidently, they were trying to guess exactly who from the Red Clarity Pavilion had come to the auction. Yiqing Luo leaned back on the chair as she glanced sideways at the person beside her. "Old Lai, he is just returning a favor." She paused for a moment before continuing. "Moreover, the underworld palace isn't as complicated as you think it is. Their thoughts are relatively simple. As long as you treat them with the same simple attitude, they naturally won't go crazy over a single disagreement. That's only for you." Zhu Wu Axan smiled as he shook his head. Even the Red Clarity Pavilion might not dare to fight with the Hell Palace. However, looking at the attitude of that person from the Hell Palace, I'm afraid a fight is unavoidable. I won't. Yi Qing Luo replied confidently, Old Lai knows that you're my friend, so he's just grumbling a little. Friend, Chu Wuxin chuckled and muttered these two words. His tone seemed to be mocking and self-deprecating. Yi Qing Luo's eyes flickered slightly, but she still didn't say a word. He just quietly looked down at the sea of people at the scene. After the matter of the hall master being attracted by the treasure gathering, the crowd was even more bustling than before. Quite a number of people were secretly trying to find out about Di Luo's identity. She didn't say a word. Zhu Wu Axian didn't open his mouth as well. The two of them just remained silent. Yi Qing Luo looked at the first floor. Chapter 36-69. Yi Qing Luo naturally felt the young man's scorching gaze beside her. But she didn't intentionally mention it. But if she cared, it would only make Zhu Wu Axian feel that he had a deep influence on her. She didn't know when the auction would start. Yi Qing Luo simply emptied her mind and body as she started to revolve the profound energy in her body, lingering around the profound jade heart, training her own control towards the profound jade heart. Not knowing how long had passed. Until she heard Zhu Wu Axian's soft voice calling out to her. Yi Qing Luo blinked her slightly sore eyes in enlightenment. The auction has already started. Zhu Wu Axian saw her regaining her senses and explained, You're here to take part in the auction should be to let the treasure gathering obtain the best trading house honor. I think you shouldn't wish to miss out on the other trading house's transaction amount, so I woke you up. His voice was calm without any undulations. But it still made Yi Qing Luo laugh in astonishment. Zhu Wu Axian, this is the first time you've said so many words in one go, right? Zhu Wu Axian's expression went into a daze, as though he had not expected Yi Qing Luo to reply him in this way as his gaze subconsciously shifted to another place. It was rare to see Zhu Wu Axian having such an expression. Yi Qing Luo laughed as she teased him. Following that, she placed her attention onto the auction below. The auction was currently bidding for the first item. According to the auction's rules towards the trading house, when they were bidding for the items, it wouldn't reveal which trading house the item belonged to. The first item was a rather good weapon and the price had already reached 10,000 crystal stones, which was considered an extremely high price. In the end, this item was successfully auctioned off at 15,000 crystal stones. Following that, quite a number of auction items were brought up. One after another, the further it was, the more valuable the items were. The people who had rushed over from various main cities were getting more and more enthusiastic as they kept on bidding. It was until the seventh item when Yi Qing Luo saw the beauty cream being placed on the auction stage. The appearance of the beauty cream caused numerous ladies to cry out in shock. The auctioneer was someone who was decided by City Lord Lu and the executive elder. But due to Qiao Yulu's character, Yi Qing Luo was still worried. She used her perceptive power to pay attention to the auctioneer and whether the beauty cream had been secretly swapped by someone. Zhu Wuxi noticed that her emotions had become tense. His gaze followed her gaze and looked towards the auction stage. He said, Don't worry. Everyone in the auction knows that you're one of my people. They won't dare to play any tricks. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. Red Clear Pavilion and Ling Long Palace, who is more powerful? The Hall of Nimbleness is just a legend in the Earth domain, but even the firmament knows of the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion. The implication was that the Ling Long Palace simply could not be compared to the Red Clear Pavilion. They were simply not on the same level. However, Yi Qing Luo didn't let down her guard. Don't belittle a woman's jealousy. When a woman goes crazy, she might not even care about her own life. A hint of coldness flashed across Zhu Wuxin's eyes. That mystic fairy, right? There was a hint of killing intent in his tone. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at him. This matter, I can settle it, don't interfere. Since even the God Realm was aware of the power of the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion, this was enough to prove that Zhu Wuxin's status was above the Earth Realm. Every realm had its own balance. If Zhu Wuxin attacked, he would destroy the balance in the land. Chapter 3670. Yiqing Luo didn't want this matter to blow up. That's true. You like to settle your own enemies. Zhu Wuxian seemed to have thought of something as he laughed out loud. Yiqing Luo took another look at him and didn't say a word as she turned her gaze back onto the auction house. The beautifying ointment had been promoted for the past 2 days. Basically, all the female customers present were all here for the beautifying ointment. Which lady didn't want to be beautiful? Which lady didn't wish for her skin to be as fair as snow? As the saying goes, whiteness can cover 100 ugliness. As long as she used the beautifying ointment to make herself younger and prettier, becoming even more beautiful and alluring. Who didn't want this magical ointment? The number of crystal stones in the auction increased by 10,000 by 10,000. Later on, it simply increased by 100,000 by 100,000. In just a short moment, it had already increased to 700,000 crystal stones. This price made all the representatives in the auction hall felt their hearts churning as they were unable to calm down. It also made all the bidders drew in a breath of cold air. This small bottle of ointment. It was actually auctioned to the highest price in the entire auction. Many of the male customers who were bidding crazily for the divine weapons, profound energy-raising pills etc. were all shocked silly by this scene. Originally they thought that their bidding was already crazy enough. Now looking at this group of ladies, as though they had gone mad, totally not caring about the crystal stones as they kept increasing the price. They only had one thought in their minds: this group of women had gone mad. This also made numerous businessmen saw a business opportunity. Speaking of which, it was much easier to earn crystal stones from women than men. In the end, the first bottle of beautifying ointment was directly auctioned off at the price of 1,300,000 crystal stones. Many ladies were forcefully stopped by the people around them from continuing to shout. There were also some ladies who were thinking. And based on the beautifying ointment. Now the price was very high. Later when they were tired of shouting, the price would definitely drop. When that beautifying ointment was sold at 1,300,000 crystal stones, it was exchanged with the bidder. Then the next auction item was opened. Only, after the auction of the beautifying ointment, everyone's enthusiasm was almost depleted. They were all immersed in the fact that the price of the beautifying ointment had exceeded the total amount of all the items in the auction hall. Because of this, the auction for this item wasn't that intense. Everyone's emotions were still lingering on the beautifying cream. When the woman who won the bid for the beauty cream was about to leave the venue with it, he was surrounded by a large group of women. The women did not want to snatch the beautifying cream by force. After all, the hall master of the Linglong Palace was present. They were not crazy enough to ignore the rules. They stared at the beautifying cream with hope in their eyes. Miss, can you apply the beautifying cream in public for us to see? We want to witness the amazing effect of the beauty cream with our own eyes. These words were not some crafty plot. Instead, they were done on purpose. It was because most of the women did not see the effects of the beauty cream at the treasure-gathering site yesterday. I've only heard of it. Therefore, most of the women wanted to witness the effects of the beauty cream with their own eyes. The woman who had received the beauty cream had a look of terror on her face. She looked left and right at the frenzied women surrounding her, and she subconsciously wanted to turn around and flee the auction. He was surrounded by a group of women. He forced her to use the beauty cream in front of everyone. Chapter 3671. This scene was seen clearly by Yiqing Luo, who was sitting on the second floor. Her lips curled up as her long and narrow eyes squinted as she looked at the lady who was surrounded by everyone. She couldn't help but laughed softly. She probably doesn't know that once a woman goes crazy, it's very scary. Zhu Wuaxian glanced at the direction of the second floor indifferently as his gaze shifted back to Yiqing Luo's face. His emotions were very indifferent as his voice was deep and calm. The her you are talking about should be referring to not that lady who successfully bid for it, right? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. You can tell. Very obvious. Zhu Wuaxian replied calmly, that lady is not the one who really bid for the beauty cream. If the beauty cream was really bid for by that lady, under so many envious gazes from so many ladies, any woman would have an involuntary sense of arrogance. In the auction, there was no need to worry about any safety issues. She could totally show off the beauty bomb that she had won in the auction to everyone. But that lady's face didn't reveal any arrogance or complacency. There was only fear and uneasiness. Zhu Wuaxian continued, the one who really bid for the beauty cream should be that mysterious maiden. You can guess it. Yiqing Luo was astonished. Are you sure that you just came to Without Embroiling City today? The news of your bet with that Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden has already spread like wildfire. It's hard for me not to know about it. Zhu Wuaxian's voice was very indifferent, but it was rare for him to say such a long sentence in one breath. Yiqing Luo didn't know if she believed him or had no interest to continue this topic. She propped her chin as she lazily leaned against the back of the chair and laughed lightly. Xiao Yulu will not be willing to lose to me, even if it's because of that face of hers, she will not be willing. Speaking of this, her voice paused slightly. Her lips suddenly curled into a cold arc. She dared to bid for my beauty cream at a high price. That's enough to show that she has the confidence to take out something that can compete with the beauty cream. Xiao Yulu wanted the beauty cream. But she would absolutely not spend a huge sum to bid for it herself. She would absolutely not want to personally push the treasure gathering to the best trading house position. So, either Xiao Yulu wanted to snatch a few bottles of beauty cream first and control the bidding amount, then think of a way to let the trading house surpass the treasure gathering. Either, Xiao Yulu was absolutely confident that she could surpass her. Yiqing Luo slowly narrowed her long and narrow eyes as a glint flashed past her eyes. Her curiosity was piqued. Yesterday, Xiao Yulu was still flustered and exasperated. Why was he so confident today? Last night, after hearing her opinion, Xiao Yan would probably keep a close eye on Xiao Yulu. If Xiao Yulu contacted the black-robed men who had set up the soul-devouring formation again, those secret guards who were secretly observing Xiao Yulu would definitely notice something unusual. If it wasn't for those men in black that gave Xiao Yulu so much confidence, Xiao Yulu wouldn't have been so confident. Then, where did Xiao Yulu's confidence come from? Do you need my help to investigate? Zhu Wuaxian seemed to have seen through Yiqing Luo's thoughts as he asked calmly. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly, her fair fingers brushed across her smooth chin. She smiled and tilted her head. If you help me investigate, won't I owe you another favor? If you want to return it, then accompany me for a period of time after the auction ends. Zhu Wuxin's gaze was deep as he stared at her. Chapter 3672. The faint smile on Zhu Wuaxian's lips turned slightly stiff. The lines on his face turned cold and hard. His pupils turned deep and dark. What you want to do is to look for the overlord, right? Yiqing Luo nodded calmly. Yes, after the auction ends, I will immediately look for him. So it was impossible for her to use the method of repaying the favor to stay by Zhu Wuaxian's side. Most importantly, she could not always use this method to repay the so-called favor. This method of repayment, on the contrary, It would make Zhu Wuxian have other ideas. The reason why she agreed to stay in Zhu Wuxian's cabin during the auction. Indeed, there was a little bit of heartache and complicated emotions towards Zhu Wuxian. But it was absolutely not for the so-called repayment of the favor. Zhu Wuxian's sudden appearance in the Earth boundary. He appeared with the identity of the mysterious powerhouse Red Clear Pavilion which was above the Earth boundary. Yiqing Luo was very curious about what was Zhu Wuxian's motive. Although Zhu Wuxian said that he no longer had any collaboration with the Nether Palace. But after all, Zhu Wuxian had once collaborated with the Nether Palace. The Nether Palace would not let go of Zhu Wuxian's help so easily. Yiqing Luo felt that Zhu Wuxian's appearance in the Earth boundary was absolutely not as simple as just for her. As expected, Zhu Wuxian's eyes sunk. He shifted his gaze slightly as he shot towards the auction grounds below. Yiqing Luo could sense that the imposing manner on him had become much more suppressed. Suddenly, a burst of exclamations rang in the auction grounds. Those ladies who were originally crowding around the lady who had successfully bid for the beauty ointment frantically rushed back to their own seats, only to hear the ladies shouting out their bids. The entire auction became bustling again. So, the second bottle of beauty ointment had appeared. That lady who was originally surrounded heaved a sigh of relief. Both her hands clutched the beauty ointment bottle tightly as she dashed out of the auction. At this moment, everyone was bidding crazily. None of the major forces and families in the other main cities were willing to give up and shout out a price. But moments later, that beauty ointment had already surpassed the price of the first bottle. This rising trend made the other trading houses dumbstruck. After that, what made everyone even more astonished was the other beautifying creams that were placed on the table were each more expensive than the last. It was as if those women weren't giving him crystals, but were just casually shouting out numbers. Originally, there were quite a number of women who thought that Yizichen was a woman. Now the price was so high. There would definitely be a lot of people who wouldn't have enough crystal stones to bid in the end. The beautifying cream later on would definitely be cheaper. However, when the 8th bottle of beauty ointment was sold at the price of 6 million crystal stones, the women began to panic. Especially the last bottle of beauty cream. Almost all the women went crazy. The women had indeed gone mad. The people in charge of the other trading houses all looked at the women who were screaming their lungs out as if they were crazy. What kind of stimulation did these girls suffer? Even if the beautifying cream really had the miraculous effect of making an ugly woman beautiful. Even so, there was no need to be so crazy, right? Spending so many crystal stones on a bottle of ointment? It would be better to buy more pills to increase his strength. Wasn't it said that the strong were respected and that strength was supreme? Was a face that important? At the same time, in a private room on the 2nd floor. Chapter 3673. The leader of Zhongqing trading firm stood behind Xiao Yulu with a pale face. Beads of cold sweat rolled down his head. Even the back of his black brocade robe was soaked by a pool of water. When he heard someone shout 100 million crystal stones from below, he could not help but laugh. His entire body was trembling. Princess Yulu. Princess Yulu, you really can't shout anymore. He tried to persuade her with a trembling voice. The beauty ointment is something from treasure gathering. We are already close to 400 million crystals away from treasure gathering. Most importantly, this 400 million difference. Furthermore, this gap was created by their Princess Yulu. The leader really couldn't understand. Why did Princess Yulu insist on getting all 10 bottles of beauty ointment? Could it be that Princess Yulu had forgotten about her bet with treasure gathering? Did Princess Yulu not care about the consequences of losing the bet? Will the gap shrink if I don't continue to shout? Xiao Yulu looked at the leader coldly, her eyes full of killing intent. The leader's legs turned to jelly. I didn't mean that, but. The leader really wanted to say. If she didn't insist on bidding for the beauty ointment. The price of the beauty ointment would definitely not be so many times higher. However, the leader didn't dare to say that. He could only hold back his tears and said with a trembling voice, We don't have enough crystals. If we continue to bid, we might not be able to take out so many crystals. If you don't have them, go to other trading firms to get them. In short, I want all these beauty ointment. Xiao Yulu's fingers were on the table. Her sharp fingernails left streaks of marks on the surface of the table. The leader's face was pale. On one side, he was worried, but on the other side, he was so happy that he almost screamed out loud. Pei Xing couldn't believe that the beauty ointment would be auctioned off at such a high price. Now, their treasure-gathering trading firm was sitting on the throne of the highest number of bids. Brother Qiao, am I dreaming? Hearing the bid of 100 million crystal stones, Yang Kai felt a chill run down his spine. Pei Xing had already gone crazy. He clenched his fists, unable to believe his eyes and ears. But when he turned around, he saw Qiao Yinyan's serious expression. The agitation on his face eased a little. He pursed his lips and sat beside Qiao Yinyan. Brother Qiao, are you still worried about all Luo? Qiao Yinyan looked up and glanced at him before lowering his eyes again. Brother Qiao. Pei Xing sensed that Qiao Yinyan's expression was very grave, and he started to panic. I'm not worried about all Luo, Qiao Yinyan said indifferently. Then why did you? His face was heavy as if something big was about to happen. Of course, Pei Xing didn't ask the rest of the question. Qiao Yinyan placed his hands on the railing and leaned over to look at the crazy scene on the first floor. He frowned slightly and said, I have a very uneasy feeling. What? Pei Xing asked. Qiao Yinyan shook his head. The beauty ointment auction went too smoothly, so smoothly that I can't help but overthink. He lowered his head slightly, and his eyes darkened. There was a bottomless whirlpool in his eyes. Yiqing Luo and Chu Wu Axan could tell the problem. Qiao Yinyan naturally could tell as well. The ladies who had successfully bid for the beauty ointment one after another, weren't the ones who had bid for it. After they bid for it, who would they bring the beauty ointment to? Qiao Yinyan guessed correctly. Outsiders didn't know that Xiao Yulu's looks were ruined. Chapter 3674. So Xiao Yulu had a huge need for the beauty cream. So these beauty cream, on the surface, were successfully auctioned by those ladies. In actual fact, these beauty cream would eventually end up in Xiao Yulu's hands. Now the amount of treasure gatherings transaction had obviously exceeded Zhong Cheng's by over 10 times. For her own face, Xiao Yulu really didn't care about the bet with Yiqing Luo. No. Qiao Yinyan instantly rejected this thought. With Xiao Yulu's arrogance, she would absolutely not ignore the bet. There was no way she would embarrass herself as the Empyrean fairy in public. Qiao Yinyan felt that Xiao Yulu might still have some tricks up her sleeves. This move, to treasure gathering, or Yiqing Luo. What consequences would it cause? The more he thought about it, the more uneasy Qiao Yinyan felt. Zhu Wuaxian's cabin. Yiqing Luo yawned as she stretched herself. Looks like the auction is about to end. This is the last bottle of beauty cream. Zhu Wuaxian's voice was calm. Will you wait for the final result before leaving this place? Wait, of course I will wait. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she glanced sideways at Zhu Wuaxian. I still have a bet with Xiao Yulu. Before the result is out, she might not let me leave. The corners of Zhu Wuxin's mouth twitched slightly as he smiled. From your tone, do you think that you won't be able to win the bet with her this time? She hasn't released her big move, so I can't judge it easily. Yiqing Luo shrugged. Zhu Wuxian, big move. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her fingers caressed the ring on her fingertip. Of course. I'm also waiting for her big move to arrive. She laughed softly. Her gaze shot towards the auction house below. The radiance and deep meaning flowing in her eyes was extremely obvious. She shifted her gaze away. He ignored Zhu Wuxin's slightly cold expression beside him. That pair of dull dark eyes revealed a biting cold murderous intent. While the two of them were conversing, the last bottle of beauty cream was successfully auctioned at the price of 123 million crystals. Everyone was shocked. All of their gazes towards Treasure Gathering's cabin had changed. Almost everyone was certain of it. The auction fair this time, Treasure Gathering Assembly took the top spot. This was beyond doubt. Who would have thought that Treasure Gathering would be at the bottom for 4 consecutive years? After climbing up a tall branch, there would be such earth-shattering changes. Everyone was both envious and jealous. This was simply a heaven-defying reversal. Just when everyone was envious of the treasures trading firm and felt sorry for the Zhongqing trading firm, the auctioneer's voice became extremely excited. Next up, it's time for the last auction item. A good auctioneer's emotions could move people's hearts. When the auctioneer's passionate and excited voice rang out, most people's attention was drawn there. Even during the bidding for the beautifying cream, the auctioneer had never been so excited. Everyone was naturally very curious. What exactly was the finale item of the auction? There was a hubbub of voices and endless discussions. The auctioneer raised the hammer in his hand high up. This is the last auction item. It is the auction item from Zhongqing Exchange, which has been the best trading house in the land domain for 4 consecutive years. After the auctioneer finished speaking, it instantly caused an uproar in the surroundings. According to the rules, in the auction, every auction item which came from which trading firm was a secret. As the auction's resident auctioneer, how could he possibly not know this rule? Chapter 3675. This meant that the auctioneer was obviously from Zhongqing Trading Hall. No, to put it more accurately, it was Qiao Yulu's people. Yiqing Luo was also stunned by the auctioneer's actions. Her half-squinted eyes were filled with a faintly discernible sense of ridicule. Her pink lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. The auctioneer's risky actions. Apparently he had obtained City Lord Lu, or the Executive Elder, Hall Master etc. support. Otherwise the auctioneer absolutely wouldn't be so daring. As expected, Qiao Yulu was secretly accumulating her strength for a big move. Yiqing Luo was also very curious about what was the last item to be traded in Zhongqing Trading Hall. Angry. Zhu Wuxian looked at Yiqing Luo's expression as he said calmly, "Those who don't know the rules can disappear from this world." Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. "Why should I be angry?" She raised her finger and caressed her lower jaw as she laughed lightly. As everyone knows, the beautifying ointment is the item that the Treasures Trading Hall is participating in the auction. Now, the auctioneer has revealed the name of Zhongqing Trading Hall, so it's very fair. Zhu Wuxian's gaze was calm and so was his tone, but I'm angry. Ha! Yiqing Luo turned her head over as she looked at him in puzzlement. Zhu Wuxian met her eyes as he said word by word, "I'm very angry that someone bullied you in front of me." Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian's flirting skills were getting smoother and smoother. Words of love could actually be said so smoothly. Yiqing Luo continued to roll her eyes at him as she shifted her gaze away. "Just watch the show properly, don't interfere. Zhu Wuxian's thin lips pursed tightly as the lines on his face gradually turned cold and hard. In the auction hall, facing the various discussions below the stage, the auctioneer turned a deaf ear to it. His tone was agitated as he continued excitedly, "I believe that once this auction item is brought out, it will absolutely make everyone scream until they lose their voices." Suddenly, he slammed the hammer heavily onto the table. "Everyone, open your eyes wide, now. Bring the last auction item up to the auction stage." Following the auctioneer's words, two sturdy bodyguards carried an item which was covered with black satin as they walked up the auction stage. The bodyguards carefully placed the item down. Then, he lifted the table off the stage. The thing covered in black satin was fully displayed in front of everyone's eyes. The auctioneer's eyes were filled with fanaticism as he looked at the item. He slowly walked to the front of the satin, pulled a corner of the black satin, and shouted enthusiastically, "Now, it's time to witness a miracle." The auctioneer used some force to remove the silk. It was a rectangular, tightly closed wooden box. The exterior of the box was engraved with extremely complicated patterns and totems. It looked very solemn. Just by looking at the outer appearance of the wooden box, everyone felt a heavy pressure in their hearts. The auctioneer was almost kneeling on the ground. His hands were almost worshipping as he traced the outline of the wooden chest through the air. The crazed look in his eyes, it didn't seem like he was faking it. The auctioneer's expression piqued the crowd's interest in the items in the wooden boxes. "What do you think is in that box?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows and asked. Zhu Wuxian stared at the box, his expression changing slightly. "I can't sense it, but I feel that it's not something good." Chapter 3676. Keeping people in suspense was also very particular. The auctioneer was able to stay in the auction for a long time. Naturally, he had his unique skills. After attracting everyone's curiosity, the auctioneer opened the wooden box with a crazy expression at the most appropriate time. Everyone stretched their necks and looked at the thing in the wooden box. After the wooden chest was opened, there was no dazzling golden light or dazzling golden light. Everyone could clearly see that in the wooden box, there was a huge, oval, white egg. That's right, it was an egg. Everyone was a little confused. There were thousands of thoughts in their minds, and a lot of guesses. But they did not expect that in the wooden box, there was a white egg. Why was the auctioneer so excited about an egg? This egg, what kind of egg was it? Everyone's heart was full of doubts and puzzlement. The auctioneer's eyes were full of obsession, staring closely at the huge white egg in the wooden box, saying word by word, "That's right, you're not wrong, this is an egg." "But, do you know what kind of egg this is?" Looking at everyone's puzzled expression, and the way they shook their heads and answered, "No." The auctioneer suddenly laughed. Eggs are usually the continuation of life. This egg is the mother beast, giving birth to a young beast. What beast is it? So mysterious. It looks like it should be a beast egg above the level of a phantom beast. Master auctioneer, don't keep us guessing, what kind of beast egg is that? Everyone's interest was also aroused, and they asked aloud. The auctioneer laughed and spread out his hands, his voice excited and inspiring. "This is a dragon egg." Dragon? Did I hear that right? Dragon egg? Master auctioneer, you said, this is a dragon egg. Don't tell me, inside that egg, is a young dragon. No, it can't be, dragon egg. How could there be a dragon egg here? Whether it was in the Nirvana realm or the Earth realm. For dragons, in the years of everyone, they were all myths. The dragon race was indeed too rare. And dragons also represented the absolute symbol of noble status. This was actually a dragon egg. Didn't that mean, if anyone could slap this dragon egg back, they would be able to do so? After the young dragon was born, whoever would be able to form a contract with this young dragon, and then become the master of the dragon. Everyone's hearts were boiling with excitement. Each and every one of them stared at the giant white egg with the same fanaticism as the auctioneer. When Yiqing Luo heard the auctioneer's words, she couldn't help but raise her slender brows. Interested. Zhu Wu Axan was extremely attentive towards the changes in Yiqing Luo's expression. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Look at me, do I look like someone who would be interested in other dragons? No one had ever seen a dragon before. But not only did he become brothers with the humanoid dragon, he had also formed a contract with the head of the 4 great divine beasts, the Azure Dragon, which was also the leader of the dragons, the dragon ancestor. There was also a pet that was half dragon and half leopard. For the other dragons, she did not feel that kind of surprise at all. Zhu Wuxin said indifferently, "It's a little strange that the Sincerity Trading House can take out a dragon egg. I have imagined many rare treasures, but I never thought that Zhongcheng's ultimate move would be a dragon egg." Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly. From everyone's expressions, it's obvious that they are extremely interested in the dragon egg. How could he not be interested? Who didn't want to contract a dragon as their battle pet? To be able to tame a dragon. That wasn't just in terms of ability, it would be of great help and upgrade to oneself. Chapter 3677. His battle pet was a dragon. Wouldn't he look good if he said it out? If you don't want Zhongqing to win, I can destroy that dragon egg. Zhu Wu Axan raised his hand, as he placed it in front of Yiqing Luo. He didn't touch Yiqing Luo's face. Only through the air, he gently traced Yiqing Luo's brows. His voice was very calm, and there was no deeper meaning in his words. "You're wrinkled here. It doesn't look good. I don't like it." Yiqing Luo, again. When did this iceberg man become so understanding? He even knew how to imitate the way the auctioneer caressed the dragon egg and caressed her from afar. Although it was not touched by Zhu Wuxin. But Yiqing Luo's heart still had a creepy feeling. She rubbed her arms and took a few steps back. "Don't mess around. Who doesn't know that you and I are in cahoots? If you destroy the dragon egg, isn't that telling everyone that I'm doing this for the sake of winning the bet?" Just as Yiqing Luo retreated, Zhu Wuxin also withdrew his hand. He lightly said, "I just don't want to see you unhappy. Watch the show, don't stare at me." Yiqing Luo raised her hand and blocked his gaze. Then, he turned his gaze back to the dragon egg. "Xiao Yulu has put in a lot of effort to prepare such a great show. If I don't take a good look, I'll be letting her down." Down below, everyone went crazy because of the dragon egg. This kind of crazy energy. It was exactly the same as the beautifying cream he had just seen. Many people from other factions were secretly rejoicing that their wives and daughters had failed to win the facial beautifying cream. Otherwise, how would they have any crystals left to bid for the dragon eggs? Compared to the dragon egg, what kind of beauty ointment was trash? Seeing the enthusiasm of the crowd, the auctioneer smiled more confidently. He raised the hammer in his hand again, spread out one hand, pointed at the dragon egg, and said, "Now, the auction for the dragon egg will begin. The starting price is 100 million spar, and each increment must be no less than 10 million spar. I hereby announce that the bidding begins now. 100 million crystals? And not less than 10 million crystals each time." This was probably the first time in the history of the auction that an item had such a high base price. It had simply set a record for the lowest bid in an auction. But this base price did not extinguish the enthusiasm of the crowd. On the contrary, it made everyone even more excited. After all, this was a dragon egg. Do you know what a dragon egg is? It would be a divine beast the moment it was born. Just a breath of air could cause 3 tremors. The higher the base price, the more it could prove the authenticity of this dragon egg. When the auctioneer finished speaking, someone had already begun to bid crazily. 101 million spar. 150 million spar. The bidding trend was no less than that of the beautifying ointment earlier. No, it was even worse. This bid was much crazier than the beautifying cream. The highest bid for a bottle of beautifying ointment was more than 100 million crystal stones. As for this dragon egg, it was worth 100 million, 100 million. 200 million spar. I bid 250 million. 300 million. This bid was going straight up. In the end, only the representatives of the major forces were left, and they refused to give way to each other. When the price of the dragon egg had already reached 400 million crystal stones, the people on treasure gathering side were all panicking. Pei Xing stood rooted to the ground, and his face was filled with disbelief. Chapter 3678. Bam! A loud sound was heard and the table in the private room shattered into pieces. Old Lai's face was filled with anger as he rolled up his sleeves. I'm going to smash that dragon egg. He was aggressive and was about to leap over the railing to the first floor to stir up trouble. Qiao Yinyan reacted quickly and immediately pulled Old Lai back. Senior, don't be rash. I'm calmer than ever. Old Lai glared at him. Qiao Yinyan didn't let go. Senior, if you smash that dragon egg, do you think everyone will push the blame to the Hell Palace or Aluo? Old Lai's figure suddenly stiffened. Public opinion. Of course they would push it to Yiqing Luo. No one dared to blame the Hell Palace. They would only feel that his actions were all instigated by Yiqing Luo. If he really destroyed the dragon egg, the one who would bear the consequences would be Yiqing Luo. Old Lai clenched his fists tightly as he endured his impulse and gritted his teeth. Then, what should we do now? A lousy dragon egg had actually soared to such a high amount. Plus the auction items in the Middle City's exchange hall. It was only a matter of time before it surpassed the total amount of the treasure. Wait and see. Qiao Yinyan couldn't think of any other way. The auction for the dragon egg had already started. Destroying the dragon egg, stopping the auction and so on were all unrealistic. Wait. Wait for the amount over at Zhongqing to exceed the treasure. Old Lai was furious. You're the eldest young master of the Qiao family, don't you know anything about Zhongqing having a dragon egg? Qiao Yinyan's face suddenly darkened. He pursed his lips tightly as he shook his head. Looking at Zhongqing's exchange hall, when they brought out the dragon egg as the last auction item, he was also very shocked. Not only him. Even Patriarch Qiao would feel surprised. Qiao Yulu was able to quietly hide it from everyone and bring the dragon egg to the auction. How on earth did she do it? Based on Qiao Yulu's character, if she had the dragon egg, she would absolutely not allow Yiqing Luo to suppress her. She would definitely bring out the dragon egg to suppress the beauty cream's limelight. But Qiao Yulu didn't make a sound. Did Qiao Yulu look like someone who would keep her grievances in her stomach? Qiao Yinyan's heart grew heavier. He felt that many things were starting to get out of his control. In Zhu Wuxin's private room, there's still a gap of about 200 million crystals. Zhu Wuxian looked at Yiqing Luo as his lips curled into a faint smile. According to this trend, it's only a matter of time before Zhongqing surpasses Congregate Bao. Yiqing Luo propped up her chin and raised her long and narrow eyebrows. From your tone, it seems like you have a way to solve the problem. There is indeed a way. Zhu Wuxin met her eyes. I will bid for the dragon egg. Everyone knew that his private room was the private room of the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion's pavilion master. If he was the one to bid. This also represented the Hongqing Pavilion's bid. Even if the profound practitioners of the major cities wanted to obtain the dragon egg like crazy, he definitely wouldn't dare to fight with the Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master. Once Xu Wuxin opened his mouth to bid, whoever opened their mouth would be going against the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion. The price would naturally stop at the amount given by Xu Wuxin. In this way, the total amount of Zhong Cheng's auction would absolutely not be able to exceed Congregate Bao's total amount. This is indeed a good idea. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly when she heard that. Chapter 3679. Yiqing Luo's eyes gradually deepened, appearing extremely serene. But, without embroiling city, he had lost his integrity as a businessman. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze, the radiance in her eyes was suffused with a faint brilliance. I can't possibly leave such a mess for him to clean up, he is a very good businessman. Chu Wu Axayan didn't shift his gaze because she shifted her gaze. His eyes were fixed on Yiqing Luo's face. He took in Yiqing Luo's expression and the flickering in her eyes. He gave a low laugh. His voice was magnetic and very alluring. It's indeed you. As long as you are willing to treat someone sincerely, you will think for the other party. Yiqing Luo didn't reply him. However, Xu Wuxin merely chuckled to himself. You agreed to accompany me during the auction because you have already acknowledged me as a friend in your heart, right? He was laughing. But his tone revealed a trace of self-ridicule. Are you feeling heartache for me, or feeling guilty towards me, towards your feelings? Yiqing Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly. Her eyelids drooped slightly, her pink lips moved, as though she wanted to say something. But in the end, she still didn't say anything. Between the two of them, it fell into silence again. Below, in the auction hall, the enthusiasm was soaring, the shouting of prices was still rising. The auctioneer continued to drive the rhythm, bringing the rhythm of the bidding to a new height. At this moment, the price of the dragon egg had already reached 400 million crystals. 400 million crystals. To a large powerhouse, it was already very strenuous. And now, those who were still participating in the auction were only those few large powerhouses from various main cities. Even City Lord Liu, as well as the representatives from the other two main cities, also participated in the auction. But 400 million crystals, if they really took out so many crystals at one go. To their current powerhouse's development, it would definitely have an impact. And they still had to go to the second division's forces to raise money. It was very easy to shake the powerhouse's foundations. But the various powerhouses' representatives had another thought. To be able to obtain a dragon egg, to hatch a dragon battle pet which belonged to them. It would definitely be able to let their own powerhouses, to go up another level. By then, the other powerhouses of the same level, would have to give face to the dragon battle pet, and take a step back. Thinking like this. No matter how much their hearts ached, there were still a few representatives who raised their bidding cards with trembling hands. After a series of exchanges, at the later stages, the increase in price was getting smaller and smaller. In the end, only 5 forces were left, and they were still struggling. This dragon egg was auctioned off for a sky-high price. The gap between Zhongqing and Zhu Bao's total amount was also getting closer and closer. The forces that had given up on bidding were also filled with anxiety. They were guessing who could obtain this dragon egg. There were also many people who looked at the private room of the treasure gathering hall and sighed regretfully. No one had expected this. In the end, the Zhongqing trading house would bring out such a dragon egg, which directly suppressed the heat of the beauty cream. Dragon egg. Once it hatched. That was a genuine mythological beast. It could fight, assist, and even act as a mount. Who gets this dragon egg? In the future, there would be changes in the powers of the three main cities. Until the price of the dragon egg reached 500 million crystal stones, the difference between the two trading houses had already shrunk to a negligible amount. All of a sudden, the atmosphere of the auction became heavy. Chapter 3680. It was also because they were anxious about who would get the best honor in the auction. At least 80% of the people had bet a huge amount of crystals on the bet between Mysterious Fairy and Diluo. They were all waiting quietly for the final result. By now, the people who were bidding were only Shadowless City's #1 family's representative, City Lord Lu and Yenless City's City Lord's forces who were still struggling. The bidding speed of the three parties had clearly slowed down. They were all carefully testing each other's bottom line. Just at this moment, the auctioneer suddenly raised his voice. Those forces who still want to participate in the dragon egg auction must be sincere in bidding for the dragon egg. I'll make the decision here. Those who want to continue bidding can come to the front and observe the dragon egg up close. Up close. Being in close contact with the dragon egg. These words made the crowd cry out in shock. Those three forces who were originally in a dilemma about whether to continue bidding or not, their hearts started to churn again. There were also a few people who had given up on bidding, and they also stood up. About 6 people approached the auction stage. When Yiqing Luo saw this, her slender brows rose as she was slightly astonished. That auctioneer. I feel that something's not right. Previously he disregarded the auction's regulations and directly stated that the dragon egg was Zhongqing Exchange's auction item. Now he made his own decision to let the bidders go up close to the auction stage to observe the auction item. This didn't conform to the auction's regulations, right? But no matter if it was the executive elder or the hall master, no one spoke out to stop him. Looking at those people, as they neared the auction stage, Yiqing Luo's heart unknowingly surged with a strange feeling. Inexplicable uneasiness. In order to bid for the dragon egg to be auctioned at a higher price, to let the bidders be in close contact, it will amplify their desire for the dragon egg. Chu Wu Axian didn't find it strange at all. Yiqing Luo shook her head. No. She felt something was amiss. But she couldn't tell what was wrong. Just like this, those 6 forces representatives walked up to the auction stage. Both their eyes stared intently at that huge white dragon egg in the wooden box. Someone wanted to stretch out his hand to touch it. But the auctioneer grabbed his wrist. You can observe, but you absolutely cannot touch it. This dragon egg is about to hatch. If you touch it and cause the dragon egg to crack prematurely, that would be bad. The auctioneer's words sounded like persuasion. However, the representatives' eyes lit up when they heard this. The 6 of them surrounded the wooden box and squatted down. His eyes were fixed on the giant egg, as if he wanted to see through the eggshell to see the divine dragon beast hidden within the giant egg. I'll add 10 million spar. A representative raised his hand, clenched his teeth and shouted. The dragon egg was about to hatch. They had to quickly auction off the dragon egg. Only then could he form a contract with the young dragon the moment the dragon egg hatched. Otherwise, once the dragon egg hatched, it would possess the strength of a dragon. It would be troublesome for them to form a contract with it. The people from the other forces had obviously thought of this as well. Hearing the increase in price, he immediately followed up. Another round of fierce fighting ensued. In the eyes of the crowd, the auctioneer let several bidders run to the auction stage. It was to entice them to continue bidding. But the more Yiqing Luo looked, the more flustered she felt. Her eyebrows tightly knit together. The restlessness in his heart grew stronger and stronger. Crack. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.